1. ZHUANGZI'S Tale of the Archer. ZHUANGZI once shared a story about an archer named Lietsu-Yu. Lietsu-Yu was an incredibly skilled archer, superior to the average person. One day he was showing off his archery skills to a friend named Ba Honorable. As he shot his arrows, Lietsu-Yu was full of confidence, pulling the bowstring tightly, and even balanced a full cup of water on his arm. He shot the first arrow, and before it even reached the target, he had already sent a second arrow flying after it, with a third arrow ready to go. His speed and skill were exceptional. Moreover, the cup of water on his arm didn't spill a single drop, making Lietsu-Yu look as steady and unmoving as a wooden figure. Lietsu-Yu's archery was unparalleled, but had he reached the ultimate level? Ba thought not. Your skill is impressive, but it's just the result of focused practice. You haven't reached the mindless state of true mastery. Let's climb a high mountain to a steep cliff and see how well you can shoot your arrows there. Ba led the way to the top of a high mountain, climbing precarious ledges over a deep abyss. Then, with his back to the drop, he stepped back until his feet were almost hanging off the edge and asked Lietsu-Yu to shoot from there. At this point, Lietsu-Yu could only crawl on the ground, sweating profusely and trembling with fear. Ba then said, "A truly wise person can see the vast sky when looking up and the deep abyss when looking down. Everything in the world lies within one's heart. Right now, your face is pale, your heart is racing, and your eyes are blurred with fear. Even if you tried to shoot, your chances of hitting the target would be slim." This story highlights an important lesson. Don't be overly confident in yourself. As humans, we can't escape our circumstances. When faced with danger, it's often the clearest moment to see our true state of mind. A person who can transcend fear truly has courage and the potential to develop themselves. However, if someone is overwhelmed by external circumstances, success will be out of reach. A person's state of mind is a critical factor in the quality of their life. So, what is the ideal state of mind, and how can we achieve it? ZHUANGZI believed that true living is about being natural, so there's no need for education or rules. Instead, we should let go of desires and biases. Why bother with politics or culture? According to him, these are just human constructs that we should release. Life might seem complicated, but it can actually be quite simple. Humans are born of the earth and will return to it. By following nature and letting go, we can attain true fulfillment, letting go of falsehoods to embrace true virtue and happiness. 2. Doing good deeds but facing misfortune. In the late years of the Qing dynasty, in the eastern border area of Lulong, there lived an old external officer named Zhao Defang, who was extremely wealthy, with a house full of grain and valuables. Zhao Defang and his wife had 3 sons, all of whom had settled down with their own families, leading a warm and comfortable life. When Zhao Defang turned 60, he revealed a secret to his sons. He confessed that he had once used a scale filled with lead, a scale that could adjust the weight of anything at will. He had used it to deceive many people. He had earned dishonest money with this scale. He even caused the death of a cloth merchant and a medicine seller. There were countless people he had cheated. Now, he deeply regretted his actions, feeling guilty for tricking those merchants, always feeling as if he was sitting on a bed of coals, unable to enjoy his food or sleep peacefully. Therefore, he disclosed this secret and decided to no longer use the scale. Instead, he committed to doing many good deeds to atone for his past, losing all 3 sons within a month. Since starting to correct his wrongs and helping those in need, Zhao Defang saw the hardship and poverty of the people, which made him want to do even more good deeds. As time passed, Just when it seemed like his past wrongdoings had been fully compensated for, Zhao Defeng faced unfortunate events. His eldest son suddenly fell ill and died, and the wife of his eldest son remarried soon after, showing no concern for Zhao's family. Before he could recover from the sudden loss of his eldest, his second son also fell gravely ill and passed away, with his second daughter-in-law remarrying as well. Later, Zhao Defeng received the sad news that his youngest son also died from a serious illness, and his third daughter-in-law, being pregnant, could not remarry. All these events happened within a month, bringing continuous mourning to Zhao Defeng's family, making him suffer greatly. He couldn't understand why, when he did bad things in the past, his descendants were prosperous and wealthy. But when he started doing good deeds, he faced nothing but misfortune, leading him to doubt whether the concept of karma really existed. Difficult childbirth. Not long after, Zhao Defeng's third daughter-in-law showed signs of labor, but after 3 days and nights, she couldn't give birth. Many midwives sighed and left after failing to help, leaving Zhao extremely worried. At that moment, a monk passing by asked for alms at the door. Hearing of the situation, he claimed to have a medicine that could ease childbirth. Just after the daughter-in-law consumed the monk's medicine, she indeed gave birth to a healthy boy. Zhao Defeng, hearing that his daughter-in-law had given birth to a direct grandson, was overjoyed and grateful to the monk, promptly arranging a feast to thank him. During the feast, the old external officer asked the monk why, despite turning away from evil and doing good, his family continued to face calamities. The monk smiled and explained, "Good and evil will surely be repaid, just as a shadow follows its form, without the slightest deviation. I'll tell you, your eldest son was actually the reincarnation of the medicine seller you killed, born into your family to settle old scores. Your second son was the reincarnation of the cloth merchant you killed, born into your family with the intention of bringing you to ruin. And your third son was also someone you owed in the past. This debt created a karmic link, intending for you to face great disaster, ultimately leading to severe illness and death in poverty. But because you turned from evil to good, you were able to change your fate. The merciful gods allowed your 3 sons to depart. Only then could your misfortune turn into a blessing. Now, your karmic retribution is complete. This grandchild will help glorify your ancestors and change your family's status. This is the reward for your good deeds and virtue." After hearing this, Zhao Defeng felt as if he had awakened from a dream, believing more deeply in the concept of karmic retribution. Then the monk asked, "Do you know why the scale uses 16 tails? The 16 tails represent the Big Dipper's 7 stars, the Southern Dipper's 6 stars, and the 3 stars of fortune, prosperity, and longevity, adding up to exactly 16 stars. So if you cheat someone of 1 tail, it will harm your fortune, 2 tails will harm your prosperity, and 3 tails will harm your lifespan. The less you weigh for others, the more harm you bring upon yourself. Think about it. How many sins have you committed with that scale?" After hearing this, Zhao Defeng broke out in a cold sweat, shaking uncontrollably with fear. He once again thanked the monk for his guidance. 3. Outstanding people often share these 3 traits. Top performers usually have these 3 qualities. These traits sound simple, but achieving them takes a lot of personal growth. 1. Letting go of grudges. General George Patton once told a story. "When I wanted to promote someone, I'd gather the suitable candidates to complete a task. I'd say, 'Dig me a trench behind the warehouse 8 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet deep.' After giving the order, I'd dismiss them and watch from a warehouse window. I saw them set down their shovels, gather behind the warehouse and discuss why I wanted such a shallow trench. Some held grudges, saying, 2 feet isn't even deep enough for a gun pit. Others complained, we're officers. This is a job for the enlisted men. Finally, one loudly said, let's just dig this trench and get out of here, whatever he wants it for. Patton chose that person, explaining, I had to pick the one who didn't hold a grudge but could get the job done. Reflecting on Patton's story, do you know anyone like that? At work, many hold grudges, blaming strict bosses, deceitful co-workers, or demanding clients. They complain about low salaries, poor food, little rest, yet the most overtime, the most work, the most critical tasks. And they work while holding on to resentment. But have you noticed that those who hold grudges often don't earn their superiors' praise, their colleagues' respect, or their clients' understanding? Holding grudges only reduces chances for promotion, salary increases, and recognition. In fact, holding a grudge is one of the most unproductive and counterproductive behaviors in the world. Firstly, holding grudges is negative energy, affecting not only your integrity but also others' emotions. Secondly, those who harbor resentment tend to be more unlucky, mainly because they can't recognize their own mistakes. Thirdly, holding grudges doesn't solve anything. Even with resentment, things won't change. Work continues, superiors won't be more lenient, and colleagues won't view you differently. So instead of holding grudges, try to change. If your salary is low, work on becoming more valuable. If you have a lot of overtime, strive not to waste work time. If your boss is strict, work meticulously to avoid mistakes. 2. Staying positive. Once upon a time, there were twin brothers who were complete opposites. The older brother always saw life from a pessimistic point of view, while the younger one was the exact opposite. On a Christmas Eve night, when the twins were 8 years old, their parents prepared different gifts for them: a brand new bicycle for the older brother and a box of horse manure for the younger one. When it was time to open the gifts, the older brother was allowed to go first. However, upon seeing his gift, he burst into tears, exclaiming, "You both know I can't ride a bike, and look at the heavy snow outside." Curious, the younger brother opened his gift, and suddenly the room was filled with the smell of horse manure. Against all odds, he jumped for joy and excitedly looked around, asking, "Quick, tell me, where did you hide the horse?" For a pessimist, no matter how good things are, they can always find the dark side. But for an optimist, no matter how bad things get, they can always spot a silver lining. This is true in life as well. We often meet people who, when faced with a life that's not going their way, a job that's not smooth, or a family that's not harmonious, have to deal with complex issues day in and day out, a whole lot of them. Some are constantly troubled by sick parents, disobedient children, weak husbands, or wives who splurge, neighbors that are hard to live with, possessions that fall apart, and delivery guys who move at a snail's pace. But these situations aren't only faced by the unlucky. If you look closely at anyone's life, you'll find that we all deal with such hardships. However, life feels harder for the negative person, while the positive person tends to have an easier time. Because a lot of what's good or bad in life is only 10% about the actual situation, and 90% about how you look at it. When we encounter things we can't change, it's better to face them with a positive attitude. Having parents to take care of is better than wanting to, but not having them anymore. Educating children, after all, is better than letting them make mistakes with no one to correct them. A husband who doesn't earn much but is honest and kind is valuable. A wife who spends too much might just be trying to look her best to make you happy. In reality, the more positive your attitude, the better your life will be. Conversely, the more negative you are, the worse things will seem. 3. Owning up to mistakes. In the 13th year of the Tang dynasty, 5,000 Huihe invaders breached the Tang border. Zhang Guangthin, representing the local authority, led troops to confront the enemy. At that time, Zhang Guangthin had over 20,000 elite soldiers, 4 times the number of the Huihe. Despite the numerical advantage, Zhang Guangthin was defeated in the first battle. After the loss, many of his subordinates, dissatisfied, demanded a rematch. Confronted with these requests, he made a surprising decision: no more fighting. One officer asked, "General, we have better troops and the advantage of terrain and timing. A rematch would surely be victorious. Why not fight?" Zhang Guangthin, somber, replied, "You're right. We have the advantages, but we lost the first battle. It shows I'm not as good a leader as our enemies, failing to unite our forces. We should reflect on ourselves, identify our flaws, and then consider fighting again. Only then can we be sure of victory." Zhang Guangthin did not blame others for the defeat, but reflected on his own shortcomings. This attitude deeply moved all his soldiers and the local people. Under Zhang Guangthin's command, the troops prepared thoroughly while also rallying the support of the local population. Together, they ultimately defeated the Huihe. In life, we often see people quick to criticize others without acknowledging their own faults. Thus, the most important aspect of human relationships is not to point out others' faults, but to reflect on our actions and strive for improvement. Possessing these 3 qualities would surely make one an outstanding individual. 4. Tang QUOC PHIEN'S, Art of Face Reading. How can we truly understand someone? Tang QUOC PHIEN had a special method revered as the Art of Face Reading, summarized in just 8 lines and 40 words. Look to the eyes for honesty, the mouth for truth. Ambition shows in posture, success in spirit, lifespan in fingers, adversity in feet, weakness or strength, all is revealed in speech. 1. Honesty in eyes and nose. Tang QUOC PHIEN believed you could tell a person's sincerity from their eyes and nose. Eyes misaligned or a crooked nose often means a person may not be straightforward. Lian Gu, a literary figure from the Ming to Qing transition, also said that one could gauge a person's honesty through their eyes. The eyes are windows to the soul. A person's character can be guessed from their gaze. Those who glance around or avoid direct eye contact while speaking might not be genuine. 2. Truth in the lips. The lips can reveal if a person is sincere and kind-hearted through their subtle changes. Since the mouth is a primary gateway for interaction, those who speak calmly and honestly are seen as moral, loyal, and trustworthy. Conversely, those who speak carelessly or deceitfully are not considered good companions. Generally, people with thick lips are open, extroverted, and enthusiastic, while those with thin lips might be seen as argumentative, arrogant, and proud. 3. Ambition and posture. Tang QUOC PHIEN believed a person's ambition could be seen in their demeanor. Charisma is when someone becomes the center of attention in a group of strangers, showing a magnetic quality that earns admiration and support, making achieving success smoother. 4. Success in spirit. People who are always dispirited or gloomy often struggle to achieve great wealth. In contrast, those who are spirited, open-minded, and healthy are more likely to attain prosperity. Success also requires diligence and ambition, contributing to significant achievements and wealth. 5. Determination in hands. According to Tang QUOC PHIEN, clear lines and a shallow palm indicate a calm and steady mind, whereas faint and disorganized lines suggest a chaotic, unstable mind. Determination refers to having a clear inner conviction, staying calm and steady through trials and tribulations. People with long fingers and robust palms are usually determined and confident, able to foresee and plan, thus capable of building great enterprises. 6. Adversity in feet. Life's challenges are inevitable. According to TANG QUOC PHIEN'S, one can gauge a person's resilience to hardships by looking at their feet. People with strong, sturdy feet are healthier and more robust, but might also invite trouble due to restlessness. 7. Clarity in speech. These last lines, though not strictly part of face reading, are still considered by TANG QUOC PHIEN'S as an important way to judge and understand people. A person's orderliness and clear thought process can be seen in how they express themselves. Concise and focused speech indicates organized thinking and discipline. In contrast, incoherent speech suggests muddled thinking and a lack of structure. Insights. The old saying goes, "The face reflects the heart," meaning a person's appearance can reveal their inner nature. TANG QUOC PHIEN'S Art of Face Reading, though brief, covers various aspects like appearance, actions, and speech. These insights are not only useful in many contexts but also align with modern psychology theories. Understanding these 40 words can help one see through people's facades.
Hey everyone, your comments truly matter, offering insights and motivation to others and uplifting our creative team at Lighthouse of Wisdom channel. Sharing your thoughts and experiences enriches our community. So, let's get the conversation started below and help illuminate our path with your wisdom.
5. Being thirsty for 3 days, you'd only need 1 gourd. Life is like a kind of fate. There are things we chase our whole lives and never get. Then there are the brilliant surprises that come our way when we least expect them. That's what it means when we say, being thirsty for 3 days, you'd only need 1 gourd. Buddha Siddhartha, under the Bodhi tree, asked someone, "In the eyes of ordinary people, you have money, power, and a loving spouse. Why aren't you happy?" The person replied, "It's because I have so many things, I don't know what to choose." Buddha smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story. One day, a traveler was about to die from thirst. Out of compassion, Buddha made a lake appear before him, but the traveler didn't drink. When Buddha asked why, the traveler said, "The lake is so big, but my stomach is small. I can't drink it all in one sip, so it's better not to drink it all." Continuing, Buddha smiled at the downhearted person and said, "Remember, in life, you might come across many good things. Just holding on to them with care is enough. Being thirsty for 3 days, you'd only need 1 gourd." Life is like a kind of fate. There are things we tirelessly pursue our whole lives without success. On the other hand, unexpected joys can surprise us when we're simply going about our lives. Each step forward is slow and hard, and a person can only achieve 1 goal at a time within their limits. 6. A wealthy man and God. There was a wealthy man who lived on a large estate. Favored by God, he had spent years doing good deeds and helping the poor, becoming a shining example of goodness. One year, a sudden flood engulfed his estate, and to seek help, the man had to climb onto his roof. Amid his desperation, someone rowed a boat to him, saying, "Good sir, hurry aboard, and I will take you to higher ground." The man looked at him and replied, "For decades, I have followed God's will, finding joy in helping others and doing good. I believe my sincere heart will move God, and He will surely come to save me. So you should go and save other people in need." And with that, the rower left. As the water rose higher and the currents grew stronger, the wealthy man clung to his chimney, crying out, "God, your faithful servant is in dire straits. Why haven't you come to save me? Don't you see me?" Just then, a helicopter flew in. The pilot called out to him, "Good sir, quick, I'm dropping a harness down to you. Strap it on, and I'll take you to safety." But the man stubbornly refused, repeating what he had said before, so the helicopter left too. Suddenly, a massive wave hit, and the man was swept away by the water. After his death, when the man met God in heaven, he angrily said, "All these years I did everything according to your will without a second thought. Yet, when I was in peril, you did not come to save me, and I drowned. It seems I was wrong to trust in you so completely." God looked at the man with pity and said, "I sent you both a boat and a helicopter to save you, but you didn't take the chance to save yourself." Only then did the man realize his mistake and felt deep regret. Life is a stage, and whether you are in the spotlight or behind the scenes, all the joys and sorrows are the result of your own actions. God grants everyone equality, regardless of their wealth, poverty, status, or humility. Thus, after we've done our best, we must also be rational and not miss opportunities out of stubbornness or end up with regrets. Indeed, the essentials for human survival are not many, even amidst wealth and glory. In the frenzy of competition, one often realizes too late how much time has passed. The temptations that surround us test whether we can stick to our principles. True happiness in life is not found in fleeting pleasures, but in contentment, in letting go of desires and living a peaceful and relaxed life. 7. The key people. You need for success. There's an old saying, if you're struggling and meet 3 people, you're on your way to success. This means if you're down on your luck and happen to connect with 3 types of people, your life and career could take a turn for the better, avoiding misfortune. These 3 people are like 3 valuable figures in anyone's life, and if you meet them, you should really value their presence. They are: 1. The upright person. This person stands by their principles no matter what. They don't bow to power or look down on others because of their own talents. They're all about doing the right thing, both in personal life and work. If they make a mistake, they own up to it and don't dodge the responsibility. They're calm and don't boast about their achievements, earning respect from everyone, rich or poor. Meeting someone like this can benefit you greatly in everyday life and in your career. But they're rare to find these days, so if you do, cherish them. They can guide you when you're most confused, giving you the courage to keep going. 2. The trustworthy person. Being reliable and trustworthy has always been valued. People trust and leaders depend on those who keep their word. However, nowadays, many lack this quality, thinking only of their own benefit and betraying others when their own interests are at stake. This selfishness usually leads to them being despised, with nobody willing to trust them again. In today's world, if no one trusts you, don't complain about being stuck. People who stick to their principles of trustworthiness are praised and trusted, and everyone is willing to connect and help them. If you meet such a person, value them, because having such a friend means you can be open-hearted and trust them when times get tough. 3. The knowledgeable and wise person. We all want to be better, but there's a limit to our talents. Meeting someone knowledgeable and experienced can broaden your perspective and make your path to success smoother. Having just one of these people in your life is lucky, but connecting with all 3 is like finding soulmates or guardians in your life. 8. Showing off your talents can bring trouble upon yourself. Wise people often resemble fools. No matter how talented, they stay humble. Some, however, with limited abilities like to boast about their intelligence, only to end up harming themselves. In the Analects of Confucius, Confucius lamented, spending all day in idle chat without a serious word and showing off petty cleverness leads to a difficult future. Those who pretend to be smart usually lack real skills, relying instead on criticism and suppression of others to elevate themselves. This may bring temporary satisfaction, but they will never achieve true success. In Liu Zongyuan's A Warning, There's a story of a hunter from the state of Chu. He was mediocre, but liked to show off. He crafted a bamboo whistle that mimicked the calls of various wild animals to lure them into traps. Once, he used the whistle to mimic a deer's call, attracting a leopard instead. Panicking, he mimicked a tiger's roar to scare the leopard away, but this attracted a real, hungry tiger. Trying to scare off the tiger with a bear's roar, he ended up attracting a bear that mauled him. The hunter, relying on tricks rather than real skill, ultimately met a disastrous end. Unfortunately, such people are not uncommon, using deceit rather than genuine ability, ultimately harming both others and themselves. Wise people often play the fool. There are great fools who pretend to be wise to show off. The difference between wise playing the fool and fool pretending to be wise lies in self-awareness. Those who overestimate their intelligence often fail to achieve success. In dealing with the world, knowing when to advance or retreat, when to show or hide your abilities, is crucial. The West says, French intelligence is hidden within, Spanish intelligence is displayed outwardly, the former truly wise, the latter merely pretending. A story tells of a woodcutter and a scholar sharing a boat ride. The scholar boasted about his knowledge, challenging the woodcutter to ask him anything for a bet. The woodcutter asked, "What in the river is heavy as 1,000 pounds but weighs only 10 pounds ashore?" The scholar, unable to answer, paid the woodcutter. Asking for the answer, the woodcutter returned 5 coins, admitting he didn't know. The scholar learned a valuable lesson on humility for 5 coins. Many people act smarter than others, forgetting that being overly confident can lead to their downfall. 9. Carpenter to KHANH. In the ZHUANG section of the Nam Hoa King, there's a story about a carpenter named KHANH. He was a carpenter from the state of Lu, known for making xiang, an ancient musical instrument, for the royal court. KHANH crafted a large xiang with 2 supporting columns on each side. The columns were intricately carved with images of wild beasts, including tigers on the xiang. How skilled was KHANH in making the xiang? His craftsmanship was so detailed and exquisite that it left people speechless, as if his creations were not made by human hands but magically brought to life. The animals carved on the xiang looked so lifelike that it made KHANH's reputation spread far and wide. Eventually, his fame reached the ears of the Marquis of Lu, who summoned KHANH to the palace and asked him if he had any secrets to creating such finely crafted musical instruments. KHANH humbly replied, "I have no special secrets. Before I start my work, I commit to not wasting any of my energy and enter a state of purification. The purpose of this purification is to cleanse my mind, find peace within, and calm all distractions." During this period of purification, by the 3rd day, I can let go of all desires for rewards and recognition for my work. It means that by the 3rd day, I've lost all concern for gain or loss. By the 5th day, I forget about fame and what the world might think of me, whether good or bad. It doesn't matter to me anymore what people say about my work. However, this is still not enough. I continue my purification until the 7th day, when I can even forget my own physical existence. By the 7th day, I reach a state where I forget myself entirely. At this point, I no longer remember that I am working for the royal court, which is usually a daunting task fraught with fear of failure. In this transcendent state, my body and mind are clear and peaceful, and I go in search of the perfect piece of wood. When I see the wood, I can already envision the xiang in it. After selecting the wood, I cut it down, bring it home, and start working on it until it becomes the instrument you see today. This is my secret. This story illustrates that to achieve success and reach the highest levels in one's work, one must let go of all desires for fame and fortune. Only when a person's body and mind are pure and tranquil can true wisdom and creativity flourish, leading to the best outcomes in their endeavors. 10. Dealing with criticism and negative comments. There's an old saying, "Let it roll off your back like water off a duck," which means whether someone praises or criticizes you, don't bother too much about it. This saying comes from a story told by the philosopher ZHUANGZI. There was a man who thought he was very wise, named ZHANG. He often heard people praising Laozi for his supernatural intelligence, so he traveled a long distance to meet him. When he saw Laozi's messy house, he angrily said, "Everyone says you're a wise saint, but after traveling hundreds of miles to see you, I find you're no better than a rat." Laozi didn't react at all to this. After ZHANG had vented his anger, he left. The next day, feeling guilty, he came back to apologize to Laozi. Laozi calmly said, "Saint or no saint, I've long since discarded such titles like old shoes. If I have truly grasped the great way, what does it matter if you call me a bull, a horse, or a rat? I am still me." In this world, it's hard to avoid anger, criticism, and even slander from others. If you get angry about it, it's not worth it. Buddhist teachings say a person should be unmoved by criticism as if the wind is blowing in all directions. Reacting strongly to slander only prolongs the conflict. It's better to stand still, like water flowing past taro leaves. Zhuangzi once made an interesting comparison with an empty boat. If you're rowing a boat and another boat crashes into you, because its rower isn't skilled, you're likely to get angry. But if that boat is empty and just drifted into you because of the wind, would you still be angry? A common problem is that people value themselves too highly, thinking of themselves as the center of the universe. Taking oneself too seriously can lead to disputes. If you adopt an empty boat mentality, life will have fewer conflicts and people will be less prone to anger. Many situations in life can't be solved by getting angry. Letting go, not seeing oneself as the center, can easily resolve many conflicts. 11. When good intentions are put forth, nature and all things within it are touched. Our actions and thoughts, whether good or bad, shape our destiny, and every situation can change based on individual thoughts and actions. According to historical records, during the 37th year of the spring and autumn period under King Cheng of the Zhou dynasty, an ominous celestial event occurred where Mars moved close to the 3 stars in the Pleiades constellation and stayed there for a while. This was considered a bad omen, symbolizing chaos and disaster, and it troubled many dynasties in Chinese history. At that time, the Zhou emperor had assigned lands to his feudal lords corresponding to specific stars, and by coincidence, the Pleiades was linked to the state of Song, ruled by King Cheng. Worried by this omen, King Cheng asked his court for solutions, but everyone was tense and had no answers. An astrologer named Ziwei stepped forward, suggesting that the event was a very bad omen for King Cheng and could endanger his life. However, he said the disaster could be diverted onto the chancellor. King Cheng replied that he couldn't do that because the chancellor was like his right hand, supporting the nation. Ziwei then suggested performing a ritual to shift the disaster onto the people, but King Cheng refused, saying he couldn't harm his people for his own sake. Ziwei proposed a third solution, to shift the disaster to that year's harvest, but King Cheng refused again, not wanting to cause his people to starve. Finally, King Cheng declared that he would bear any disaster himself to ensure the well-being of his people, impressing Ziwei and the court. Ziwei then predicted that because of King Cheng's virtue, the gods would spare him and even extend his life by 21 years. That night, the Mars indeed moved away from the Pleiades as predicted. King Cheng ruled for 64 years, following the teachings of Lao Tzu and Confucius and bringing peace and prosperity to his people. The ancient saying, "Virtue can overcome fate," means that by living a virtuous life, one can change their destiny. Thus, many believe that King Cheng and his state of song were spared from disaster because of his good intentions and virtuous character. 12. Liu Tan's success story. In the history of the later 5 dynasties, the story of Liu Tan, it is recorded that Liu Tan, a prominent official in the later Tang dynasty during the 5 dynasties period, came from Weizhou, now Ji County, Hebei. Starting his career as a scholar, he held several key positions at court, including being a secretary at the Imperial Secretariat, a royal historian, and a minister of justice. Liu Tan was known for his integrity and strictness, not showing favoritism or engaging in flattery. Liu Tan's success can't be discussed without mentioning the strict upbringing by his father, Liu Qin. When Liu Tan was young, his father, serving as a county magistrate, imposed strict demands on him. As soon as Liu Tan was old enough for schooling, his father taught him to read ancient texts like the Book of Songs and Shangshu, which, despite being profoundly dense by today's standards, were essential textbooks in ancient times. To further motivate his son, Liu Qin even had Liu Tan wear the traditional blue robe worn by scholars of the time. Before the examination system, scholars wore blue robes. After passing the imperial exams, they could also wear blue. During meals, Liu Qin would eat meat dishes himself while preparing simpler dishes like pickled vegetables for his son, explaining that the meat was a reward from the court for his own efforts. "If you want to eat meat," he told his son, "you must diligently study so that one day you can earn your own rewards. My rewards are not yours to inherit." This method of upbringing and encouragement had a significant motivational impact on Liu Tan. Under his father's guidance, he studied diligently and became an exceptional scholar by his early 20s. By his 30s, he had passed the imperial examinations to become a doctorate. Modern readers may find Liu Qin's parenting methods harsh and disagree with them. However, the story is thought-provoking. Today, many parents tend to overly pamper their children, turning them into spoiled individuals. Moreover, they work tirelessly to amass wealth with the intention of leaving it to their offspring, inadvertently raising dependents who lack initiative and responsibility. Therefore, Liu Qin's lesson to his son that his wealth was not simply for inheritance holds deep wisdom and significance. 13. Keep a simple and honest character. Every person starts with a good nature. People are less influenced by society when they haven't been deeply involved in worldly matters. But as they go through life's ups and downs, their minds can become more complex. So never forget your original intentions. To understand this deeply, not forgetting your original intentions is to learn to be humble and not to show off. No matter what life throws at you, always maintain a pure and clean soul, as if you've never been tainted by this world. Because the more kind-hearted you are, the less likely you are to be hurt or harmed by others. But the more you boast, the more you invite jealousy. Living in this world doesn't mean the more flamboyant the better, nor does being overly cautious and enduring injustices in the name of safety guarantee a peaceful life. In many cases, it's best to stick to your honest and straightforward nature and maintain an open attitude. An honest and straightforward person might seem naive on the outside, but they're like a bar of gold always shining brightly. Mountains don't boast about their height. Rivers don't brag about their depth, and an honest person, unconcerned with fame and fortune, naturally finds peace of mind. Maintaining an honest and straightforward character is a beautiful way to live and represents the ultimate state of being human. 14. Hearing hard truths. In life, it's inevitable that sometimes you have to hear things that are hard to swallow or deal with situations that are not to your liking. However, these difficulties are actually ways for us to improve ourselves and cultivate our minds and characters. There's a saying, honest words can be unpleasant to hear, but they can guide one's actions, just like bitter medicine can be hard to take, but it can heal your illness. Everyone likes to hear sweet words, but if all you ever hear are pleasant things and you're always happy and satisfied, then you're essentially basking in a dangerous poison. When facing adversity, learn to be patient and endure, to stay strong and persistent. And when times are good, maintain clarity of thought and stick to your original intentions. Being a person means not hiding from mistakes, fearing criticism. You need to be able to hear both the harsh truths and the pleasant words. Facing your own flaws, no matter the situation. Keep a calm mind. Don't worry about gain or loss. Don't become arrogant and complacent when things go smoothly, nor give up entirely when faced with failure. Hearing hard truths is a way for a person to go further and longer in life. 15. Knowing when to advance and when to retreat. There's a saying, all roads lead to Rome, and even though there are countless paths in life, we can't just walk any path we want without thinking. Be careful, or a small mistake can lead you far astray. Choosing your path carefully is crucial. Once you've made your choice, whether the road is smooth or rough, you need to face it calmly. Even when things are going your way, it's important to stay humble. The more favorable your circumstances, the more you need to keep a calm mind. And if you find yourself in difficult times, it's time to double down and push forward with enthusiasm. When facing honor and disgrace, gain and loss, if you can be generous and calm, your journey through life will be much more peaceful. 16. Enjoying freedom. If a person can live freely, like a boat drifting on the waves without any ropes holding it back, then their inner self is like a tree turned to ash, indifferent to success or failure, praise or criticism from others. For people living in this world, the hardest things to overcome are fame and profit, and the most difficult to let go are honor and disgrace, gains and losses. If a person cares too much about fame, profit, and gains and losses, they will always be surrounded by worries and dissatisfaction. Living under the vast sky and wide ocean, there are many things that cannot be changed, many situations that are inevitable, like a piece of wood floating hazily, subject to the pushes and pulls of circumstances. However, as long as we are steadfast, everything will move in the right direction. As individuals, we should know how to balance our place in the world, not to forcibly seek what does not belong to us. By doing so, our demeanor becomes more open and relaxed, enjoying more joy in life. Let things happen as they may. Letting everything come and go naturally is a part of life's attitude, and it's also a form of self-cultivation that each of us needs to achieve peace and freedom of mind. 17. We meet people by chance, but we truly understand each other through wisdom. Getting to know someone is about seizing the opportunity, while understanding each other is all about being genuine. If you're lucky enough to have 2 or 3 close friends in life with whom you can share everything, who never leave your side, that's a real blessing. We're like a house, and friends are the windows. The bigger the windows, the brighter the house. Just like that, the more friends we have, the more open and enriched our lives become. Life flows like water, revealing its depth as we move through it. Time is like a song, whose melody we only appreciate as it's sung. Understanding comes from wisdom. The longer we know someone, the deeper our understanding becomes. Friendship is like fine wine. Aging only enhances its richness and clarity. In ancient times, forming a bond was about connecting hearts, but today, it often seems more about catching each other's eye. Friends of convenience may evaporate over time, difficult to sustain. Tran KHANH, from the Ming Dynasty era, wrote in Xiao Song Yu that friendship develops from shallow to deep, from formal to intimate, from distant to close, and this progression is natural in forming bonds. Ancients evaluated potential friends through 4 observations: watching how someone acts in the face of personal gain, how they react to misfortune, their behavior when they think no one is watching, and their conduct when drunk. In these situations, a person's true nature is fully revealed, whether they can maintain their integrity in the face of temptation, remain calm during hardships, act conscientiously even when unnoticed, and control themselves when inebriated. A right-minded person is not greedy, a strong-willed person is not fearful, a responsible person is not lazy, and a self-disciplined person does not indulge in chaos. These principles are not only for judging others but also for self-improvement. 18. The Power of Words. A Lesson on Gossip and Reputation. A young man in a village was quite upset about a recent burglary at his home and began to suspect his neighbor. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became that the man living next door was the culprit. The accused thief was a middle-aged man named Kai, who was not very sociable and often came home late at night. The young man kept a close watch on Kai's every move. Eventually, he shared his concerns with a few friends. Rumors that Kai was the burglar quickly spread throughout the village for a long time. Soon after, Kai was arrested, but he proved his innocence. Afterwards, Kai sued the young man in court. Standing before the judge, Kai said, "After all these rumors, my reputation has been tarnished and can't be restored. No one trusts me anymore." The judge pointed to the young man and said, "Your gossip has caused a lot of harm. Now tell me, what should the villagers do to restore Kai's reputation?" The young man replied, "It was just idle talk. Why make such a big deal out of it?" The judge was very disappointed with this response. He handed the young man a piece of paper and said, "Young man, the case isn't over yet. Write all the bad things you've said about Kai on this piece of paper, tear it up into pieces, and scatter them on your way home. Tomorrow, I will give my final verdict on your actions." The next day, the judge asked the young man to collect all those torn pieces of paper and place them on the table before the courtroom. The young man nervously answered, "But that's impossible. The pieces have been blown everywhere by the wind." The judge replied, "Exactly. And that's how your words destroyed Kai's reputation." The judge added, "Words must be accompanied by wisdom. Every word we utter has great power. Kind words can transform everything around us. Similarly, words filled with hatred can ruin anyone." Though this is just a parable, it clearly shows the impact of our words on those around us. That's why most cultures have always emphasized thinking before speaking. 19. The more alone a person is, the deeper and richer their soul becomes. When Tudong Fa was exiled to Hangzhou, he found life very challenging. He discovered that the pork quality in Hangzhou was excellent and incredibly cheap because the wealthy did not eat it and the poor did not know how to cook it. In a situation lacking resources, he researched and created the famous Dong Pa pork dish. Later, his close friend Ma Khan helped him acquire some unused land. He shed his scholar's robe and donned farmer's clothes, worked hard to build dams and dig ponds, and even had someone from his hometown in Sichuan help him find crop seeds, eventually cultivating a large wheat field. He then built a small bridge and a pavilion in the middle of the land, where he would read, write, and invite friends over for wine in his free time. He was highly regarded by the emperor twice and also exiled twice. After experiencing profound solitude, Tudong Fa turned an ordinary life into an interesting poetic journey. He exclaimed, "In this world, there is a flavor called elegance." Later, he was once again held in high esteem and returned to the capital to take up a high-ranking official position. Whenever he felt bored or stuck, he would remember those loneliest days and the knots in his heart would gradually loosen. Comfortable and peaceful times cannot cultivate an open, optimistic mind or the ability to endure life's storms. Growth is about learning to live with solitude because nothing refines a person better than solitude. By embracing solitude, you truly deserve freedom. 20. The more alone, the more exceptional. At 23 years old, Mak Tom, a famous painter and writer in China, became a high school teacher in Hangzhou's top school. The job offered excellent benefits, including a large house with a swimming pool at no cost. However, even in such a luxurious setting, Mak Tom left after just 1 year to live in seclusion on McCann Mountain. He hired someone to carry 2 large trunks of books, his usual hat, bag, and shoes, and moved to this quiet mountain to do something unexpected. In his large, abandoned house, he posted a quote from French novelist Gustave Flaubert on the table. "The breadth of art is enough to occupy a person." He woke up at sunrise to read, and by night he wrote under candlelight. With the cold wind blowing against the windows and snow fluttering down in the freezing cold, he brewed tea and continued reading. Mak Tom was solitary, but his separation from the world turned every moment into self-inflicted torture and each step into a discovery of truth. This isolation led him to create numerous works that touched many hearts. 6 years later, he returned from the mountain with over 100 short stories, novels, and countless ink paintings. German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said, "Without equivalent solitude, there is no inner peace." Indeed, what one achieves in solitude determines their excellence. The more exceptional a person is, the more capable they are of achieving inner peace. The more outstanding individuals are, the better they know how to avoid inefficient social interactions in life. 21. Being alone means living a clear-headed life. In 2012, Wang Shu, at the age of 49, won the Pritzker Architecture Prize, marking the first time this international architecture award was received by a Chinese individual. He understood solitude better than anyone. As a child with no friends, he spent a lot of time alone at home, doodling and developing a love for painting. In college, he was the loneliest guardian of the library, yet he completed his studies in just 2 years. After graduating, his passion for traditional architecture made him a bit of an outsider. While other architects became wealthy, he worked tirelessly alongside construction workers on building sites. For a long time, he led a solitary, unrecognized life. However, this solitude allowed him to remain sober in a chaotic material world, eventually reaching the pinnacle of modern architecture. Everyone is born alone. It's just that everyone faces it differently. Faced with solitude, Sima Qian ignored all mockery and reflected alone, thus writing the renowned Records of the Grand Historian. Facing solitude, Yip Man ignored all disputes and continued to practice Wing Chun alone, discovering its deepest wonders. Facing solitude, Ang Lee ignored all rumors, creatively worked alone, and went on to produce classics like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The book The Heart is a Lonely Hunter suggests, the more knowledgeable and ambitious a person is, the more solitary they become. On life's journey, I often think of what the writer Zhang Xiaoxian said with teary eyes. Many people have asked me about the feeling of walking alone on the road at night. What I thought about wasn't the loneliness or the length of the road, but the magnificent ocean and the shining stars in the sky. Loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness brings panic, while solitude brings strength. Because sticking to your beliefs always shows the truest and best version of yourself. 22. What does the character of a great leader look like? Abraham Lincoln was born into a wealthy family, but after his father lost a legal battle over property rights, their family faced tougher times. Lincoln's mother died when he was just 9 years old, after which his father remarried another woman. It was his stepmother who raised Lincoln into adulthood and had a significant impact on his life. At the age of 12, while chopping wood, Lincoln discovered that the tree he was cutting had already been marked by someone else. He told his stepmother about it, and she shared a story with him. There was a hunter named Bamp who went to Native American territory to set traps, but for many days in a row, the Native Americans caught the prey from Bamp's traps, making him very angry. They agreed to meet to discuss the matter, but since they couldn't understand each other's language, they had to use hand signals. In the end, Bamp decided to give his traps to the Native American. Later, during another hunting trip, Bamp was chased by a pack of wolves, jumped down a cliff to hide, and was seriously injured. When he woke up, he found himself in a Native American tent, with his wounds dressed. Every day, the Native American would change his bandages and feed him the very meat that he had trapped before. It was this kindness and noble spirit that saved his life. After recovering, he became good friends with the Native American. They lived together, hunted together, shared experiences, and divided the spoils with each other. After hearing this, Lincoln told his stepmother, "I know what to do now, thank you, Ma." For Lincoln, the virtues that his stepmother taught him were deeply ingrained in his subconscious. Later, as president, he applied them to serve America and its people. 23. River God Legend. The Mystery of the Underwater Palace. In the times of the Wei, Jin, and Southern and Northern dynasties, it was said that 10 miles west of Bin Nguyen County, one could see a temple in the woods dedicated to the gods. During the reign of Emperor Tai Shang of Southern Yan in the Jin dynasty, Xiao Jingba, who lived on Mount Changbai, received a letter stating, "I am the envoy from the Yangtze River, ordered to contact you. Today, I will pass through Mount Changbai and hope for your assistance." Jingba read the letter carefully. He needed to go to the temple in the woods, pick a single leaf, and toss it into the water. So, without much thought, Jingba set off and easily completed the task in the letter. Shortly after the leaf hit the water, a figure emerged from beneath the surface and gestured for Jingba to follow him. Although Jingba tried his best to keep up, he was afraid of getting wet, so the man asked him to close his eyes tightly. Suddenly, Jingba felt his body smoothly enter the water, a rather magical sensation. When he opened his eyes again, Jingba was astonished by the sight of a majestic, grand palace. The prophecy of Southern Yan's destruction and the legend of the river god. Once inside, an elderly man sat on a crystal bed, appearing to be at least 80 years old, resembling a wise old sage. After Jingba paid his respects, he immediately handed over the letter he carried. The old man opened the letter and said only one phrase, "Du prospers, Shui perishes." Jingba was confused, and the armored guards nearby looked at the old man in amazement, as if he had just revealed something shocking. After completing his mission, Jingba bid farewell to the old man, who called him back and gifted him a sword. Before parting, the old man repeatedly warned, "Be careful on your journey. With this sword, water will not harm you." As the old man said, Jingba surfaced smoothly, and when he returned to the temple in the woods, not a single part of his body was wet, truly miraculous. Later, in retaliation against Southern Yan's attack, in the 5th year of Tai Shuang, General Liu Yu of Eastern Jin led an assault, and by February of the following year, captured Ningqian-kou, the capital of Southern Yan. Southern Yan vanished along with the death of its last king, Mo Dong-Xue. The old man's words, "Do prosper, Zhuwei perishes," had come true. Liu Yu later became Emperor Wu of Song, marking the start of the era of the Southern and Northern dynasties, with rapid changes in dynasties. The village where Jingba later lived was situated between 2 rivers. 3 years later, one night, a sudden flood occurred and the village was destroyed. Jingba miraculously survived, sitting on a small bed until the next morning when he surfaced. When Jingba stepped off the bed, he looked closer and discovered it was a large old turtle that had saved him. According to legend, after Jingba's death, the divine sword given by the old man disappeared, and it was said among the people that the river god resided in the waters near the temple in the woods. Gods wished to pass down their stories to the world. Who was this Yangtze River envoy, and why did he ask a mortal to deliver a letter to the river god? Many might realize that the Yangtze River envoy was also a god, choosing a mortal to meet the river god so that the mortal could witness and then spread the divine tales in the world. This is a common choice among gods, to warn and teach humans to do good deeds, respect the divine, and avoid evil. This explains why, in legends from various cultures, there are people chosen by gods to visit other realms, be it heaven, hell, or palaces in some celestial realm. Moreover, Jingba in the legend was not an ordinary person. When the Yangtze River envoy asked for his help, Jingba, seeing the task within his capabilities, immediately set off without much thought, not wondering why the envoy knew him or whether the task would harm him. Upon meeting the old river god, Jingba quickly paid his respects and presented the letter, showing him to be a good, kind person who deeply believed in and respected the divine. The river god's revelation about the fate of the Southern Yan dynasty is also a divine tale that the gods wanted to leave for humanity, showing that events in the human world are orchestrated by higher powers. The gods already know what will happen, and humans must follow suit. Thus, people should live in harmony with nature, cultivate virtue, do good deeds, and respect the divine for a better future. 24. A cow killed 3 people. In Buddhist texts, there's a story where Buddha explains the concept of karma and retribution, highlighting that speaking evil words can lead to terrifying consequences. The story goes that King Prasenajit, after reading and chanting about the 12 links of dependent origination, realized that his pursuit of wealth, beauty, fame, and various pleasures had led him to immense suffering. He discovered that all the things he had pursued were actually the root of his troubles. Even possessing all these things couldn't satisfy the deep desires within his heart. Therefore, King Prasenajit made a significant decision. He gathered all his ministers and announced he would hand over his throne to the crown prince, and he himself would shave his head and become a monk. After renouncing his royal life, King Prasenajit gained more understanding about the world and decided to follow Buddha's teachings. One day, as King Prasenajit was begging for food in the city of Shravasti, a newly birthed cow unexpectedly charged and killed him instantly. The cow's owner, witnessing this, was terrified, believing the cow to be a bad omen, and decided to sell it immediately. Later, a buyer purchased the cow. When the new owner was leading the cow to the river for a drink, the cow attacked from behind, killing the man instantly. The buyer's son, furious upon hearing about the incident, ordered the cow to be slaughtered and took its meat to the market for sale. At that time, a farmer who loved beef head bought the head of the cow that had killed 2 people and carried it home on a pole. Exhausted, the farmer rested under a tree more than a mile from his home. Suddenly, the beef head hung on the tree fell because the rope broke, and the cow's horn pierced the farmer's head, killing him instantly. King Bimbisara, a good friend of King Prasenajit, was shocked to learn that a cow had killed 3 people in one day. He believed there must be a deeper reason, so he immediately led his ministers to Buddha. After respectfully bowing to Buddha, King Bimbisara expressed his desire to know why a cow, already dead, could still cause the death of 3 people in such a short time, and what was the underlying cause. Buddha then explained the cause of the incident. In a previous life, there were 3 merchants who cheated an old lady of her lodging fee. Despite agreeing to pay, they decided to leave without paying when they saw she was alone and could be easily deceived. When the old lady found out, she was furious and vowed that if she could meet them in another life, she would kill them all regardless of their spiritual attainment. Buddha revealed that the old lady was the cow in this life, and the 3 deceitful merchants were King Prasenajit, the new cow owner, and the beef-loving farmer, respectively. Buddha said, "Using harsh words and slander hurts others and oneself. Speaking kindly and respectfully not only eradicates negative karma, but also prevents hatred from arising. Thus, evil words are like sharp weapons that wound both the speaker and the listener." After Buddha's explanation, King Bimbisara and his ministers deeply reflected on the lesson, understanding more about the principles of karma and the importance of speaking kindly. 25. Zhang Sheng's redemption, from notoriety to nobility. Once upon a time in Jingku, Zhenjiang, Jiangsu, there was a scholar named Zhang Sheng. Despite coming from a poor background and not having the best reputation, often causing trouble in the village, he was known for his generosity. He would often give away money, even if it was obtained through deceit, to help his needy neighbors. As a result, his household often lacked enough food. On one New Year's Eve, Zhang Sheng found himself out of rice. He pawned an old piece of cloth for some money, bought a bag of rice, some food, candles, and incense, and headed home. The night was snowy and the paths slippery. In his rush, he fell, scattering his groceries in the mud. He went back with a lantern to look for them, and surprisingly found a heavy bag containing gold, silver, and a significant amount of cash along with a ledger. Realizing the bag belonged to a silk shop, Zhang Sheng thought it could stabilize his life. But then he considered that the silk shop owner might have lost it and could be in great trouble without it. So he decided to wait for the owner to come looking for it. Soon after, an old man and 2 young men, looking distressed and carrying a lantern with the silk shop symbol, were seen searching the ground. Zhang Sheng approached them, asking if they were looking for something. The old man, wary of Zhang Sheng's bad reputation, was evasive at first, but under pressure, he revealed that the shopkeeper had lost a bag in the snowstorm. Zhang Sheng invited them to his house and returned the bag, asking if it belonged to the old man. The old man, overwhelmed and fearing the worst, could hardly believe Zhang Sheng's kindness. Tearfully, he confirmed the bag was his and said he would have been ruined without it, expressing his gratitude to Zhang Sheng for saving his life. The old man wanted to reward Zhang Sheng with half of the money, but Zhang Sheng refused, asking only for 2 silver pieces to have a decent New Year's meal. Touched by his sincerity, the old man agreed and left after thanking him. That night, Zhang Sheng dreamed of being taken to a king who told him he had been doing wrong but was spared because of his good deed. The king advised him to reform and do good, promising a bright future. Waking up, Zhang felt divinely inspired, vowing to the gods to turn over a new leaf. He indeed passed the imperial examination later, becoming an official, fulfilling the king's prophecy in his dream. 26. The Messenger from Hell. During the Qing dynasty, there lived an old sage named Wang in Hunan County. At the end of the year, he went out to collect books and documents. It was snowing heavily, and his boat was sailing through the snowy wind. Suddenly, Wang saw a man on the shore waving at him from a distance, desperately asking to be allowed on the boat. Since the boat was already far from the shore, the boat owner was reluctant to return. However, moved by compassion, Wang begged the owner to go back. Seeing Wang's kindness, the owner rowed back and picked up the man. After boarding, Wang noticed the man was freezing, so he gave him his fur coat and brewed a pot of wine for him to drink. After a while, the man warmed up. He bowed deeply to Wang, thanking him for his kindness. Wang asked the man where he was from and where he was going. The man said, "I am not human. I am a soul messenger from Lord Cheng Huang." Wang asked whom he was to take. The man showed a list with 33 names, with Wang's name at the top. Shocked, Wang couldn't believe he was to die so soon and begged the messenger for a reprieve. The soul messenger said, "This is by order of Emperor Dong Yue. Even Lord Cheng Huang can't save you. I dare not mock the royal decree." Wang pleaded again, and the messenger said, "Considering you just gave me clothes and wine, saving me from the cold, I can put your name at the end of the list, delaying your death for a few days. You should go back and prepare your affairs. On the 3rd day of the 1st lunar month, I will wait for you on the left side of the main entrance of the temple." Shortly after, the boat passed a village, and the soul messenger bid Wang farewell and went ashore. Wang told the owner to wait a bit before leaving. Wang silently observed as the messenger entered a household and then left. When the messenger left, Wang heard mourning from the household. Realizing this man was indeed the soul messenger, Wang urged the owner to leave quickly. As Wang disembarked, he encountered a couple embracing and crying desperately. After inquiring, he learned they were in debt and considering suicide as they couldn't sell the wife to settle the debt. Thinking he didn't have much time left and didn't need much money, Wang gave them all the money he had just received, saving their lives. Upon returning home, on the 1st day of the new year, Wang called together all his family members, relatives, and fellow villagers. To those who couldn't repay their debts, he forgave them and burned all the debt records in front of them. For those who wanted to redeem their land but couldn't afford it, he returned their lands to them. On the 3rd day of the 1st lunar month, Wang went to the temple of Lord Cheng Huang as promised and met the soul messenger on the left side of the main entrance. The messenger, looking distressed, said, "Sir, you've implicated me. Because I reluctantly moved your name to the bottom of the list, Lord Cheng Huang reported your deeds of saving the couple and burning the debts to Emperor Dong Yue." The emperor said, "How could someone who has died do such great deeds? As a result of my revealing secrets and disrespecting the law, I've been demoted and exiled to Yunnan. Heaven has granted you an extension of 12 years to your life, hoping you'll continue to do good. In 12 years, I will meet you here again." After saying this, the messenger vanished. Wang lived peacefully until one day, 12 years later, he dreamed of the soul messenger who told him, "After the Jade Emperor extended your life, seeing your dedication to good deeds, today I am ordered to take you to become a Lord Cheng Huang. Your time has come to take on this duty. In 3 days I will come with your mount and servants to fetch you." Wang woke up, gathered his descendants, and calmly instructed them on his funeral arrangements. 3 days later, dressed neatly, he sat upright in the hall, faintly hearing music, and said, "My escort has arrived." With a smile on his lips, he passed away peacefully. 27. Why the poor shouldn't go to sea and the rich shouldn't indulge in excess. Back in the day, when science wasn't advanced, boats were basic, and people navigated the seas at night by the stars. The unpredictable storms made sea travel extremely risky. A single strong wind could doom a sailor to a watery grave. Poor folks, out of desperation, often took on any job to survive, even the perilous ones at sea. The saying, "the poor shouldn't go to sea," essentially advised the less fortunate to seek safer employment rather than risking their lives on dangerous waters. Additionally, going to water in the old days also meant dealing with fire, as water was the go-to solution for fires, a common disaster back then. Without modern firefighting tools, a fire often meant total ruin, especially for the poor living in simple homes. The broader implication here is to avoid illegal or unethical activities for quick gains, as these can harm others and oneself in the long run. As for "the rich shouldn't indulge in excess," the message is about maintaining and growing one's fortune responsibly. History is filled with examples of those who squandered their wealth and empires over indulgences, especially in pursuing pleasures. From ancient leaders to emperors, many have fallen due to their inability to resist temptation, leading not only to personal ruin, but often to the downfall of entire realms. The saying also touches on greed, advising the wealthy not to hoard their riches selfishly. An example from history is an empress who valued wealth above all, even at her country's direst need, leading to her downfall and that of her empire. In essence, life is short and wealth is not the ultimate goal. True happiness comes from love, sharing, and contentment with what we have, leading to a peaceful and fulfilling life. 28. The lesson of waiting. In an ancient temple in Japan, there was a 9-year-old boy named Than Lone, who later became the founder of Pure Land Buddhism. He decided to become a monk and sought a Zen master to shave his head. Upon meeting the master, he was asked, "Why do you want to become a monk at such a young age?" Then Lone replied, "Although I'm only 9 years old, my father has passed away. I don't understand why people have to die and why my father and I had to be separated. So, to understand this principle, I must become a monk." The Zen master said, "Okay, I understand. I agree to take you as my disciple, but it's already late today. Let's wait until tomorrow morning to shave your head." Then Lone then said, "Master, although you said we should wait until tomorrow morning to shave my head, I am still young, and I'm not sure if my determination to pursue a monastic life will last until then, and you are already of advanced age. Can you be certain that you will wake up healthy tomorrow morning?" The Zen master replied, "Good, good. What you have said is very wise. Everything you've said is correct. I will shave your head right now." The world and everything in it is constantly changing. People, too, are part of this never-ending cycle of change, with no one knowing what the future holds. Tomorrow is never certain. Unexpected events can happen in a moment, possibly changing or ending our lives forever. Therefore, if there is something you want to do it today without waiting. Throughout history, many have lost opportunities by waiting. Waiting for a better day, waiting for the future, waiting until they are less busy, waiting for the next time, waiting for more time, waiting for better conditions, waiting for enough money, waiting until there is no more fate, waiting until youth passes, waiting until there are no more opportunities, waiting until there are no more choices. The future is unpredictable, and many things, if waited on, might never come to pass. Don't let yourself live with too much regret. Many parents spend days in endless waiting, waiting to feel secure until their child can walk, waiting until their child goes to school, waiting until their child graduates from college, waiting until their child finds a job, waiting until their child finds a life partner, waiting until their child gets married, waiting until their child has a baby, waiting until the grandchild can walk, waiting until the grandchild goes to school, waiting until the grandchild graduates from college. Sadly, in the end, they may pass away without having truly enjoyed life. There are 5 things in life that cannot wait. Poverty cannot wait, because over time you might die of hunger. Health cannot wait, because once your health declines, everything else becomes meaningless. Education cannot wait, because it's hard to correct the path once you've grown up on a crooked one. Filial piety cannot wait, because once your parents are gone, there's no chance to show your respect. Youth cannot wait, because time passes by, and no amount of money can buy it back. Life is full of surprises that you can hardly anticipate. Human life is fleeting, like a shadow passing by a window. In just a moment, life returns to the earth. Life is so short. Therefore, it's important to make the most of your time and do things that are meaningful. Cherishing connections and valuing time is essentially cherishing your own life. 29. In times of trouble, never lose your integrity. Speaking the truth can lead to danger. In the 2nd year of the Western Han Dynasty, 72 BC, Emperor Han Xuan wanted to renovate the shrine for Emperor Wu to honor the great achievements of his ancestor. Most officials agreed, but Xiahou Xing, a minor official and the Queen Mother's teacher, boldly stated that although Emperor Wu had quelled rebellions in 4 large regions, he had also caused the death of many scholars, leading to widespread suffering and displacement among the people, and thus argued against the renovation of the shrine. Xiahou Xing's honesty was like a cold splash of water to the king, challenging the emperor's authority. Sycophants, seeing an opportunity, accused him of criticizing the emperor's decree and slandering the late emperor. Huang Ba, the chief historian who refused to join the sycophants in their report, was also forced to admit guilt. Both Xiahou Xing and Huang Ba were imprisoned for great disrespect and sentenced to death, to be executed in the autumn. In the cold, dark prison, Xiahou Xing became despondent, his spirit as cold as ash. Despite his straightforward nature, he regretted speaking the truth in the face of sycophants' manipulation. Xiahou Xing felt that Emperor Han Xuan was petty and that life was unpredictable. Huang Ba, equally wronged but naturally optimistic, didn't dwell on the situation. Knowing of Xiahou Xing's wisdom and virtue, he saw the imprisonment as an opportunity to learn from him. With time on their hands and a great teacher available, Huang Ba saw no reason not to seize the opportunity to learn. Despite Xiahou Xing's initial reluctance, citing their impending execution, Huang Ba persisted, quoting Confucius, "If I hear the way in the morning, I can die content in the evening." Convinced, Xiahou Xing agreed to teach Huang Ba, and they spent their days discussing and learning from each other, finding joy in their studies even in captivity. The prison warden, puzzled by their cheerful demeanor despite their grim fate, couldn't understand their happiness. Their virtue and wisdom commanded respect. As autumn approached, reminding the emperor of the execution schedule, he sent someone to check on their morale. Learning of their positive spirits, the emperor, though displeased, couldn't bring himself to execute such virtuous men and struggled with the decision. Meanwhile, Xiahou Xing and Huang Ba remained calm and focused on their studies, their spirits and knowledge growing with time. Then, a natural disaster struck in the 49 counties of eastern Quan, seen as a sign of heavenly displeasure at the wrongful imprisonment of good men. The emperor, concerned about the disaster and its implications, declared a general amnesty, freeing Xiahou Xing and Huang Ba from prison. They were not only spared but also appointed to high positions. Emperor Han Xuan made Xiahou Xing an imperial advisor, valuing his integrity and wisdom, while Huang Ba became the deputy governor of Yangzhou province. Xiahou Xing, trusted by the emperor, was later appointed as a tutor to the crown prince and lived to the age of 90. To honor his teachings, the Queen Mother wore mourning clothes for 5 days after his passing. Huang Ba, known for his intelligence and achievements, eventually became the prime minister. Historical records mention many talented prime ministers in Han Dynasty history, but none surpassed Huang Ba in governing the people. Life is a mix of joy and sorrow. Fortune and misfortune are unpredictable, but understanding life and the right path can transform one's fate, even in the darkest times, if one remains true to their integrity. 30. Everyone's fate is believed to be arranged by a higher power. There's a story from Shandong about a man named Zhang Shun, who, while fleeing from robbers, hid among a pile of dead bodies by the roadside. There, he witnessed the king of the underworld summoning the souls of the deceased. When the king of the underworld went through his list and noticed Zhang Shun motionless, he asked, "Why are you lying here, motionless?" Paralyzed with fear and unable to speak, another spirit replied, "He is supposed to die in jail in the capital city, not here with us." Suddenly, a strange wind blew, and everyone vanished. Since then, Zhang Shun often reminded himself never to go to the capital. That year, a great famine struck, and Zhang Shun, having nothing to eat or drink, begged for food and gradually made his way to the capital. One day, passing by a large house, he saw a servant struggling to soothe a crying baby. The baby stopped crying and reached out to him as soon as he saw Zhang Shun. The child not only stopped crying when Zhang Shun held him, but also smiled brightly. After Zhang Shun left, the baby began crying loudly again. The servant told the homeowner about this, and Zhang Shun was asked to stay and serve the young master, who was the baby. Zhang Shun was overjoyed to avoid hunger and cold, enjoying a comfortable life without worries. Hearing from another servant that the homeowner's only son, the young master, had been crying frequently since birth, unable to be soothed by anyone for 5 years, Zhang Shun devoted himself even more to serving the young master. Years later, the homeowner was summoned to serve in the capital, and remembering his previous omen, Zhang Shun wanted to leave, but was not allowed by the homeowner. After Zhang Shun shared his past experience, the homeowner laughed it off, saying, "You take a dream for reality? How foolish! If you obey the law, how could you end up in jail? And even if something happens, it won't be hard for me to get you out. What are you worried about?" With no choice, Zhang Shun followed the family to the capital. On their 3rd day in the capital, the young master wanted to go out. Unfortunately, he fell into a river and drowned. Unable to save the young master, Zhang Shun ran back to inform his master, begging for forgiveness. The homeowner, having only this beloved son, flew into a rage, beat Zhang Shun, and had him thrown into jail. The jailer, seeing Zhang Shun had no connections or money for a bribe, treated him brutally. Unable to endure the harsh treatment, Zhang Shun died in despair, understanding that life and death are predestined, and one cannot escape their fate. 31. People are often held back by their beliefs about life and death. There's a meaningful story about Laozi and Confucius in the Classic of Virtue *. It's said that Confucius greatly admired Laozi and once went to him for wisdom. With great respect, Confucius said to Laozi, "Your knowledge is profound. Now that you have some free time, please teach me about the Tao." Laozi replied, "You want to learn about the Tao? First, you must let go of all distractions, calm your mind, be sincere, and cleanse your spirit. Only then can you understand the mysterious Tao. But today, I can give you a brief explanation. Let's talk about people. We live in this world for a very short time. It's like a swift horse passing through a narrow gap, gone in the blink of an eye. Everything in this world is constantly changing, with life and death in a continuous cycle. The cycle of life and death is natural and shouldn't be seen as strange. However, people often feel sorrow towards death because they are constrained by their beliefs about life and death. If we view death as merely the body returning to the earth and the spirit ascending to heaven, becoming something intangible, then returning from the tangible to the intangible, there's really no need for sorrow. The Tao is such that you can't ask too much about it. The key is to experience its profound mystery. Once you truly understand, you'll deeply appreciate its subtlety and depth. The ancients often said, life and death are determined by fate. Wealth and honor are in the hands of heaven. This means that a person's life and destiny are decided by the heavens. What we have is due to our path in life. What we don't have is simply not in our destiny. 32. Is it true that good people often end up at a disadvantage? During the Ming Dynasty in Jiangxi Province, there was a fisherman named Zhang de Yuan. He woke up early every day to fish at the Carp Gorge, braving the wind and sleeping on his boat. Despite his hard work, he barely made enough to live on due to the heavy fish taxes imposed by the local government. On the 15th day of the 4th month of that year, Zhang set up his nets at the Carp Gorge, planning to catch more fish in the evening. After preparing everything, he took a nap on his boat since it was still early. But soon he dreamt of an old man with long beard standing in the water saying, "I am the king of carps. Tonight, I plan to lead my offspring to the lake Baduong to lay eggs. We will pass here at midnight. Please retract your nets." Zhang, worried, replied, "King of carps, I want to help, but next month the tax collector will come. If I don't pay enough taxes, they'll seize my fishing boat and I'll lose my livelihood." The Carp King offered him a silver carp to sell as a way out. After waking up, Zhang found no fish in his nets but discovered a silver carp ornament. Intrigued by its lifelike design, he remembered the dream and decided to gather his nets early. The next day, Zhang took the ornament to a pawn shop. The owner, recognizing its value, deceived Zhang into selling it for much less than its worth. Zhang, not knowing its market value, happily accepted the deal. The following year, the Carp King visited Zhang again, giving him another silver carp. This time, after selling it, the pawn shop owner became curious about its origin. Zhang, being honest and slightly drunk, revealed the story. The pawn shop owner then schemed to take over the Carp Gorge. The pawn shop owner succeeded in his plan but was greedy for more. When he dreamt of the Carp King, he demanded a golden carp in exchange for access to the gorge. He received the golden carp but was warned it needed gold flakes to survive. Ignoring this, he later found the fish starving. Despite feeding it gold, the fish's demands drained his wealth. Eventually, he presented the golden carp to a local official, hoping for a reward. The official, seeing an opportunity to impress a higher authority, took the fish but ordered the pawn shop owner to bear the cost of its upkeep, leading to his financial ruin. When the higher authority visited and found the golden carp transformed into a stone sculpture, he punished the local official for the deceit. The pawn shop owner, now destitute and hopeless, learned the hard lesson that greed and deception lead to disaster. Meanwhile, Zhang, despite being swindled and losing his fishing spot, was protected by the divine. He returned to fishing at Carp Gorge, and the local fishermen developed a tradition of not fishing on the 15th day of the 4th month out of respect for the Carp King. This story illustrates that good people may face temporary setbacks, but their inherent goodness protects them from ultimate harm. Conversely, the greedy and deceitful bring about their downfall. It teaches the importance of living a life in harmony with nature and letting go of greed. 33. The joy of a father and daughter. On a train, there was a father and his daughter. The girl, about 10 years old, was wearing a small red cotton dress with big, bright eyes. The father was dressed in an old, outdated outfit. As the train started moving, the girl became very excited, constantly looking out the window with joy in her eyes, saying, "Dad, are we passing by the green onion fields we often eat? They look so fresh and green." Her voice was crystal clear, catching the attention of many passengers who then looked out the window, only to find not green onions but a field of barley. "These aren't green onions. They are barley, used for making bread," the father corrected her gently. The girl continued to make innocent mistakes, like mistaking wild yellow flowers for green ones and a huge billboard for a small blackboard. Her father, instead of getting angry, always corrected her with a smile. Hearing the girl's words, a woman sitting nearby couldn't help but laugh loudly. It's surprising how pretty this little lady is, but seems a bit confused. The father heard the woman's comment despite her attempt to speak softly. His face showed a moment of awkwardness before he smiled kindly, almost apologetically, and said, "I'm sorry, my daughter has been blind all her life. She just had surgery and this is her first time seeing the world outside, so she's a bit overwhelmed. I hope she's not disturbing anyone's rest." After speaking, the father hugged his daughter, advising her to speak softly. The girl, surprised at first, then became visibly saddened, resting her face down on the table. Noticing his daughter's change in mood, the father tried his best to engage her in conversation, even acting silly to get her attention, but the girl remained quiet and disinterested. We often judge people based on their appearance or our first impression without knowing their full story. Such judgments can be inaccurate or even greatly mistaken. Before knowing the whole situation or understanding the essence of a problem, we shouldn't make comments, as they can sometimes destroy someone's happiness in an instant. While a 2-year-old starts to speak, it takes a lifetime to learn when to remain silent. Not saying words that hurt others is also a form of cultivation and kindness. 34. Is hardship good or bad? People who go through tough environments shine like diamonds. If you're facing many difficulties, you're close to success. There's an old saying, "Salt curdles soy milk into tofu. Everything has its counterpart." This is similar to, "A thick-skinned orange needs a sharp nail," illustrating the balance of life. For example, cats love to eat fish, but sadly, they can't swim. Fish like to eat worms, but they can't come to land. The world offers us many enticing things but doesn't make them easy to achieve. In this world, no one can truly help you except yourself. Others' help is temporary, not lasting. Like a chicken egg, if it breaks from the outside, it's food. If it breaks from the inside, it's life. Life, too, breaking from outside pressures or from inside growth. Waiting for others to break you means you'll end up being used by them. Breaking yourself from within shows real growth, like being reborn. A famous French writer said, "Difficulties are like rocks, obstacles for the weak but stepping stones for the strong." A child found a cocoon. After a few days, it cracked. The emerging butterfly struggled, apparently stuck. To help, the child cut the cocoon open, but without struggling free itself. The butterfly's body was heavy, its wings shriveled, and it soon died. The struggle was necessary for its strength to face life's challenges. If you hope to transform from a caterpillar to a butterfly, you must endure the struggle within the cocoon to soar. Eagles, symbols of strength, face a severe trial at 40. Their beaks and talons become too long and weak to hunt effectively, and their feathers too heavy. They retreat to a mountaintop, continuously peck at rocks to shed their beak. Waiting for a new beak, they then pull out their talons and feathers. This painful renewal process takes 5 months, but it enables them to soar for another 30 years. This triumph comes from extraordinary suffering. Even insects and birds endure pain for growth. Shouldn't humans, more capable, embrace hardship for growth and rebirth? The phoenix, before dying, sets itself ablaze, and from the ashes, a new phoenix rises, symbolizing rebirth from adversity. Do you want to be like a phoenix? Don't just live a comfortable, mundane life. While young, face hardships to purify yourself, build patience, and pursue your dreams like an eagle taking flight. 35. Water wears down rock, Beethoven once said. It's not because the water is powerful, but because it flows continuously day and night. Hence, we can say if we don't take steps, we can't cover thousands of miles. Success isn't just about achieving a goal right in front of us. Instead, success is an ongoing process where we take steps every day to get closer to our goals. Someone once broke it down like this. If everyone lives to be 72 years old, then we spend 20 years sleeping, 6 years eating, 2 years sick, 8 years learning and doing activities, 14 years working, and the remaining 22 years of free time determine how successful we are in life. The difference between those who strive and those who don't isn't apparent daily, but over time the outcome is starkly different. The key question is, which side do you choose? In life, choices are more crucial than effort, so choices must come before effort. Your mindset determines your outcome, and your attitude determines your success. In the process of developing successful habits, you'll find success grows slowly, like a child, day by day. No child becomes an adult overnight. As you grow, your continuous efforts turn even the most mundane tasks into skills. The saying, "water wears down rock," isn't about the force of the water, but the persistence of its flow over time. The daily difference between those who learn and those who don't might not seem significant. Even monthly or yearly, the differences might seem small, but after 5 years, you see a vast difference. After 10 years, it's like comparing 2 entirely different life philosophies. Albert Einstein once said, "The difference between people lies in how they use their free time. Free time after work can produce talented individuals, but it can also lead to laziness, drunkenness, and gambling. This not only creates differences in work efficiency, but also in life success levels. On the path to success, belief is the starting point, and persistence is the end. Springs are beautiful because of the pressure, and waterfalls are majestic because of the height difference. Without pressure, potential remains untapped, and intelligence can't bloom. So give yourself some pressure, some opportunities, and you'll find you're more exceptional than you think. The real issue? Because these actions are too easy to do, they're also too easy to ignore. When you neglect these seemingly insignificant tasks, it might not immediately make you feel down and out, but that's when you decide your life and plans have failed. There's a saying, "A moment of time is as precious as a piece of gold, but you can't buy a moment with a piece of gold." This means time is incredibly valuable. Why not start now using your free time persistently to do something? Success isn't easy for anyone, and life's road isn't always smooth. A person's success is built from the smallest details, accumulated day by day. 36. From heaven to earth. In the ancient belief, heaven and earth are the origins of life, nurturing and embracing all beings, including humans. People live between heaven and earth, and when they achieve material wealth, they often become arrogant and self-satisfied, forgetting that these riches also belong to nature, given by heaven and earth. Without the protection of heaven and earth, humans would have nothing and could not survive. The phrase, "from heaven to earth," carries a deeper meaning that everything in the world belongs to the cycle of nature, and nothing truly belongs to humans. Even if one possesses something today, it's uncertain who it will belong to tomorrow, and even if one owns it for a lifetime, they cannot take it with them after death. This teaches us not to be overly attached to worldly gains and losses, to avoid troubles, and not to be arrogant or haughty when possessing more material wealth than others. Instead, we should maintain a peaceful and contented soul, live a good life, and be respectful and grateful to heaven and earth. Later, the phrase, "from heaven to earth," was used as the title for a folk story, which made people immediately think of that story whenever the phrase was mentioned. However, this inadvertently limited and even distorted the profound meaning of the original phrase. Once upon a time, there were two close friends named Heaven and Earth. Both were orphans and very poor, but Earth was slow and simple-minded, while Heaven was smart and quick to learn. Earth promised to work hard to earn money for Heaven's education, asking only that Heaven not forget him once he became successful. Heaven readily agreed. After 10 years of hard work by Earth to support Heaven's studies, Heaven indeed succeeded and became a high-ranking official. Earth was overjoyed and went to visit Heaven, but Heaven, not wanting to acknowledge his poor friend from the past, had Earth sent away. Heartbroken, Earth could only go to the riverbank and weep. The heavens pitied Earth for his honesty and suffering, so they sent a fairy to become Earth's wife, transforming his life into one of wealth and luxury. One day, Earth invited Heaven to his home for a feast. Heaven, seeing Earth's sudden prosperity and his beautiful fairy wife, became jealous. While drinking, Heaven expressed a desire to trade his official position and mansion for Earth's wealth and beautiful wife. The fairy, standing by, urged Earth to agree. They made a clear agreement to prevent future disputes. Heaven, captivated by the fairy's beauty, happily complied. After the exchange, Earth became a high-ranking official and returned to Heaven's mansion, while Heaven stayed in Earth's house, drinking until he passed out. When he awoke, the mansion, servants, and even the beautiful fairy had disappeared, leaving Heaven with nothing but ragged clothes and a small hut by the riverbank. From then on, Heaven became a poor ferryman, while Earth lived a prosperous life as a high-ranking official with his beautiful wife. 37. Two types of people, spared by the plague demons. In a boarding house one evening, everyone indulged in a lavish meal and, feeling content, either went to their rooms to rest or fell asleep right at the table, creating quite a chaotic scene. Among them, there was one man who didn't drink and thus remained sober. Late into the night, he couldn't sleep and was sitting upstairs, peering down into the common area. Suddenly, he spotted a group of eerie figures entering the house despite the doors being securely locked, which piqued his curiosity, prompting him to silently watch them. The leader of the group had a menacing presence, towering over ordinary humans, with the others appearing ghastly, more like demons than humans. The man suspected they were plague demons, including the feared plague deity, and out of fear, he lay flat on the ground, pretending to sleep while sneakily observing them. The demons were delighted to find many people in the house, ready to drain their life force and spread their malevolent energy, which would cause illness. However, the plague deity stopped them from approaching someone who had done great good deeds, and another who had committed severe wrongdoings. Confused, the lesser demons protested, questioning the purpose of their visit if they couldn't attack anyone. The plague deity then pointed to a group of people who were neither particularly good nor evil, with no special fate, and allowed the demons to prey on them. As the demons drained the life force from these individuals, their victims' complexions turned increasingly pale, while the observing man, terrified by the sight, turned away and eventually fell asleep. The next day, an infectious disease broke out, traced back to the actions of the plague demons. This story highlights an important notion. During plagues, demons tend to spare those who are exceptionally good or exceptionally evil. It is believed that those who commit to doing good deeds accumulate blessings and are revered by supernatural beings, protecting them from harm. On the other hand, those who are profoundly wicked aren't allowed to escape their fate easily. They are destined to atone for their deeds, reflecting a universal justice. The tale also suggests that those who live their lives without clear moral direction, neither good nor evil, are often the first to face misfortune when disaster strikes. They lack the protective virtues to warrant divine protection and are not deemed necessary to undergo greater trials later. Thus, they are the first to repay their karmic debts. Therefore, in times of great calamity or during a pandemic, it's crucial for us to be clear and make wise choices for our future. While the wicked might survive until the end, a tragic fate is hardly desirable. Only those who lead righteous lives, respect the divine, and accumulate good deeds can hope for peace and tranquility in the face of adversity. 38. The destructive power of jealousy in historical and religious narratives. Jealousy harms both others and oneself. In Buddhism, jealousy is considered a negative emotion that everyone must abandon. It can lead to harmful actions and societal chaos, hindering spiritual progress. The Bible narrates how Lucifer, despite being a perfect angel, was consumed by jealousy, leading to his downfall and transformation into Satan. This jealousy made him harm Job, a righteous man praised by God, and incite rebellion in heaven. During Buddha's time, Devadatta, initially a diligent disciple, became arrogant and sought to lead the monastic community. His jealousy led him to divide the community and harm others, ultimately facing severe consequences after death. In the novel Investiture of the Gods, Shen Gongbao's jealousy towards ZHUANGZI'S for being chosen to confer titles on gods leads to conflict. Similarly, in Journey to the West, the discord between Sun Wukong and Zhu Baji is rooted in jealousy. Jealousy is seen as the root of many evils in religious and spiritual traditions, causing individuals to stray from their path, harm others, and even lead to the fall of angels. Humans plagued by jealousy constantly strive to outdo others, fearing their achievements and harboring resentment towards their possessions, often resulting in harm. Historically, jealousy has caused significant upheaval. Han Xin's execution by Emperor Liu Bang was due to jealousy over his accomplishments. Gujian's execution of his loyal companion Wen Zhong was driven by jealousy of shared success. Zhu Yuanzhang eliminated his generals due to jealousy of their contributions. In Vietnamese history, Nguyen Trai, despite his national hero status, was forced into retirement due to fear of jealousy, eventually being falsely accused and executed due to envy in the court. The stories of Zhou Yu and Zhuge Liang, and Peng Huan and Sun Bin illustrate the destructive power of jealousy. Zhou Yu's envy of Zhuge Liang's talent led to his death, while Peng Huan's jealousy of Sun Bin's skills resulted in his own tragic end. Jealousy is a double-edged sword that harms both the jealous individual and their targets. Without rational abandonment of jealousy, one faces dire consequences. 3 things not to say, 3 actions not to take, and 3 types of people not to associate with. 1. Pointing out others' flaws. Everyone makes mistakes and has flaws. These should be forgiven and understood. So, when we talk, we should be careful not to use honesty as an excuse to be hurtful. Even if you're being straightforward, don't corner someone. Be mindful of others' feelings. 2. Bragging about yourself. Being praised by others is a sign of reputation, but praising yourself is just bragging. If someone constantly talks about themselves without sense, others will see them as lacking depth. Your talents will be recognized without the need to show off. Therefore, such words should never be spoken. 3. Saying things that are pointless and of no value. Instead of saying useless things, aim for meaningful words. Rather than speaking a lot but saying little, say less but with more impact. 3 actions not to take. 1. Inviting unnecessary troubles. Everyone has their own value, so comparing yourself to others is unwise. If you want to compare with your yesterday self to see if you've improved or are happier. This is what truly matters. 2. Trying to change others. No one is perfect. Everyone has their own way of living and habits. Instead of trying to change others, work on improving yourself. Accepting others as they are enriches life and brings inner peace. 3. Competing for selfish gains. What seems beneficial might not be, and vice versa. Always fighting for personal gain appears wise but can lead to greater losses. Wise people understand the law of cause and effect and prefer to give rather than take unjustly. Accepting short-term losses can lead to long-term blessings. 3 types of people not to befriend. 1. The indifferent and heartless. Avoid those who are cold and indifferent even to their own family. Befriend those who value relationships, are kind to family and friends, and treasure bonds. These are the people worth associating with. 2. The profit seekers. Stay away from those who only look out for their own interests, even at the expense of others. Associating with them can lead to being used or betrayed. 3. Those who don't keep their word. Trustworthiness is crucial. Dealing with people who don't keep their promises is a nightmare. True friends can overlook flaws, but not dishonesty. Respecting such a person from a distance is wise, as spending time on empty words is wasteful. 39. Meeting death. Once upon a time, a couple had to meet with death himself. Death said, "Only one of you can live. Decide by playing rock, paper, scissors, and the loser must die." In the first 2 rounds of rock, paper, scissors, both husband and wife chose the same. But on the 3rd round, the husband lost. Death sighed and said, "Actually, according to my rules, if you had tied in all 3 rounds, I would have let you both go. I didn't want to have to use a 4th round to decide." Hearing this, the wife hugged her husband tightly and said, "We agreed to both choose rock for all 3 rounds, so why did I choose scissors in the 3rd round and you chose paper?" This is really about human nature, the selfishness and foolishness in some of us, where we try to outsmart others but end up outsmarting ourselves. When a foolish person aims to lose, they actually win. Therefore, always being kind and good-hearted means you are the true winner. Always keep a kind and good heart. 40. The soldier and the spider. A soldier was attacked by the enemy forces and had to escape into a mountain cave. As the enemy was hot on his heels, he hid in the cave, silently praying they wouldn't find him. Suddenly, he felt a creepy, cold sensation on his arm and turned to see a spider. He was about to squish it, but then felt pity and let it go. Surprisingly, the spider went to the entrance of the cave and spun a new web. When the enemy troops arrived at the cave and saw the intact spider web, they assumed no one was inside and left. So, sometimes being kind to others is also a way of helping ourselves. 41. Before enlightenment, what did you do? A practitioner asked the old monk, "Before enlightenment, what did you do?" The old monk replied, "Chopped wood, carried water, cooked meals." The practitioner asked, "And after enlightenment, what then?" The old monk answered, "Chopped wood, carried water, cooked meals." The practitioner questioned further, "Then what's the difference between before and after enlightenment?" The old monk explained, "Before enlightenment, when chopping wood, I was worried about carrying water, and when carrying water, I was thinking about cooking meals. After enlightenment, when chopping wood, I just chop wood. When carrying water, I just carry water. When cooking meals, I just cook meals. The true way is in simplicity and being ordinary. A simple and ordinary mind is the way." 42. The Rock and the Baby. A man who holds his own child weighing about 22 pounds won't get tired because he enjoys it. But if the same man is asked to hold a 22-pound rock, he surely won't last long. When someone doesn't like doing something, even if they're more talented than others, they won't be able to excel. But if someone enjoys something, they'll use all their abilities and even surprise themselves. Therefore, if a person hasn't achieved much, it doesn't necessarily mean they lack ability. It could just be because they don't enjoy what they're doing. 43. Loved ones and friends. During World War II, a Jewish family was persecuted, leading the eldest and youngest sons to go their separate ways in search of help. The eldest sought aid from someone who had once helped him, while the youngest turned to close friends he had previously supported. In the end, the eldest son was saved, but the youngest was betrayed. Those who love you are willing to make significant sacrifices for you. However, the ones you love may not always be ready to do the same. In life, those who truly benefit you are the ones who love you and have shown you kindness. 44. The Black Crow and the Dove. A black crow flew eastward and encountered a dove. They both landed on a tree branch to rest. Noticing the crow's laborious flight, the dove kindly asked, "Where are you headed?" The crow, frustrated, replied, "Truthfully, I didn't want to leave, but the locals despise my unpleasant cry." The dove, with goodwill, advised, "Don't exhaust yourself. If you can't change your cry, you won't be welcome no matter where you go." The moral is similar in life. Changing your goals is less effective than changing your approach. Altering your surroundings is less impactful than transforming yourself. 45. The Donkey that escaped the well, a lesson in self-reliance. A donkey fell into a dry well by accident, and everyone tried to save it but failed. They decided to bury the donkey alive instead. The donkey cried out in distress, but as the soil began to fall on it, it calmed down in a surprising manner. It tried to stand on the falling soil, crushing it underfoot, striving to get a bit higher with each effort. Like this, it kept rising higher with the soil that was meant to bury it. Finally, to everyone's amazement, the donkey stepped out of the dry well. The key moment that can save you is often your own effort. 46. Turning Point, the Prodigal Son's Lesson. During the Qing dynasty, in Tichqi County of Huichao, there was an old man named Mr. Liu, who was very close friends with another elder named Mr. Tran. Mr. Liu, unfortunately, fell ill and passed away at a young age. Before his death, he entrusted his son to Mr. Tran, hoping that Mr. Tran would look after him. However, Mr. Liu's son grew up to be a reckless spender with no ambition, indulging in excessive drinking and gambling. He squandered money like it was worthless, causing Mr. Tran great worry. Despite Mr. Tran's heartfelt attempts to advise him, even to the point of tears, the son did not change his ways. Seeing no other solution, Mr. Tran decided to take matters into his own hands, thinking it better to safeguard the family's wealth before the son squandered it all. Mr. Tran then secretly arranged for his own family members to gamble with Mr. Liu's son, who ended up losing more and more, eventually having to sell his inherited land to Mr. Tran under a different name. The son also sold or pawned valuable family possessions, which Mr. Tran bought back. Years passed, and Mr. Liu's son had sold all his inherited wealth, while Mr. Tran carefully preserved these assets. The son, now penniless and homeless, was forced to rely on the charity of relatives and even strangers, struggling to adapt to a life of poverty. Eventually, Mr. Tran found him and brought him back home, offering him food and clothes. He reminded the young man of his past mistakes and advised him to focus on studying. Motivated by Mr. Tran's advice, the son dedicated himself to his studies and soon passed the local exams. Mr. Tran then returned all the previously acquired assets to him, explaining his actions were all in an effort to teach him a valuable lesson. Deeply grateful, the young man expressed his sincere thanks to Mr. Tran. This story illustrates the importance of recognizing and correcting one's mistakes, emphasizing that it's never too late to change and receive help from others. 47. Please forgive me, Your Majesty, for the gratitude I owe you. During the spring and autumn period in China, King Zhuang of Chu was renowned for his wisdom and kindness. The story goes that one day, King Zhuang organized a grand feast for his ministers. The palace was filled with excitement. In high spirits, the king summoned his favored concubine, Zitza, to pour wine for the guests. Suddenly, a strong wind blew out all the candles in the palace. In the darkness, a court official accidentally pulled on Zitza's robe, teasing her. In response, Zitza accidentally tore the ribbon from the man's hat and reported to King Zhuang, wishing to light the candles to see who had teased her. Teasing the king's concubine was seen as an insult to the king himself, a grave disrespect and contempt for royal authority. However, after listening to Zitza, King Zhuang thought for a moment and then loudly proclaimed, "Let's not light the candles. Today, I want everyone to enjoy themselves. No need for proper attire. Everyone should tear their hat ribbons to have fun." The officials were puzzled by the order, but none dared to disobey the king. So they all tore the ribbons from their hats, preventing the teaser of the king's concubine from being exposed. Zitza was both surprised and angry at this. After the feast, she complained to King Zhuang. He then explained, "Today I invited everyone to drink. It's forgivable for people to forget their manners while drunk, and this incident should not lead to punishment. Everyone serves the country, so how can we humiliate our own people to prove our integrity?" Hearing King Zhuang's words, the concubine nodded in agreement and also decided to let the matter go. About 2 years later, a war broke out between the states of Chu and Jin. After 5 fierce battles, a general from Chu led his troops with fearless courage, always at the forefront. Under his leadership, the soldiers gained strength and bravely fought, leading to numerous victories for Chu. Later, King Zhuang was curious and summoned the general to inquire about his motivations. The general replied, "I am forever grateful for Your Majesty's mercy in forgiving my past mistake at the banquet. I've always wanted to repay your kindness. Now I've had the chance. I am Xiang Hong, the one who teased your concubine at the feast." In life, everyone makes mistakes, but if we can see the good in others and allow each other a way out, we are also being kind to ourselves. 48. Leaving a way out for the enemy, Cao Ban won over the people of Jinling City. Cao Ban was a founding minister of the Song dynasty, credited with unifying the western regions and southern pathways. Despite being a famous and powerful general, Cao Ban was extremely kind-hearted. When Cao Ban led his troops to attack the southern pathways, he had Jinling city under siege. However, he ordered a temporary halt to the assault and sent several letters to Lai Duc, the ruler of southern pathways who was holding out in the city. Cao Ban wrote, "The situation has come to this, and the defeat of southern pathways is just a matter of time. It's a pity that if we take the city by force, everything will be destroyed, and the people will suffer. If you can surrender to the Song dynasty, it would be the best course of action." As Jinling city was about to fall, Lai Duc stubbornly refused to surrender, choosing death over defeat. At this moment, Cao Ban suddenly feigned illness and could not lead the assault, which led his generals to visit him. Cao Ban told his officers, "No medicine can cure my illness, but if everyone sincerely vows not to harm a single person when taking Jinling city, then my illness will naturally heal." After hearing Cao Ban's words, the troops were deeply moved and agreed. They swore an oath as Cao Ban had said, cutting their fingers and making a blood pact. Unexpectedly, the people of Jinling city heard of Cao Ban's words and were touched by his kindness and compassion. Even the stubborn Lai Duc was moved and decided to surrender, removing his armor. Li Duc and the people of Jinling city then welcomed the Song dynasty's troops together. This battle was won without a fight, thanks to Cao Ban's generosity and mercy, saving both his soldiers and the lives of countless civilians. There's a saying, "Step back and you'll find the sea and sky vast. Yield a little and you'll find peace and calm." Thinking of others first, being generous and not cornering others also opens a path for oneself. 49. Filial piety. During the Qing dynasty, in a county of Shandong province, there lived a devout son named Ngo. His father had passed away early, and he himself was mute and deaf. Ngo lived with his mother about 3-4 miles from the city center, earning a living by carrying water for a family in the city to support their household. All the money he earned, he gave to his mother, never spending any of it frivolously. Despite being mute and deaf, Ngo was very intelligent and could understand his mother's wishes through her hand gestures and facial expressions. Every day, he would gesture to ask his mother what she wanted to eat so he could buy it from the city. If she made a circle with 4 fingers, it meant a large cake. Covering her wrist with her fingers meant she wanted tofu. A diagonal finger meant dumplings, a straight hand forward meant fish, and a hand down turned as if carrying something meant meat. Ngo's mother was old and often ill, eating slowly and little, which deeply saddened him. When he saw acquaintances, he would use hand gestures to talk, seemingly expressing his distress over his mother's poor appetite. On days when his mother could eat well and enjoyed her meals, Ngo would hum to her, resembling singing and even dance, mimicking actors on stage to her delight. When meeting relatives, he would excitedly sketch in the air, indicating that his mother had eaten well. Though Ngo was already 50, he remained consistent in his care, never changing his attitude. In cold weather, he would warm the bed with his body so his mother could sleep comfortably. Moreover, he would lie at the foot of the bed, waiting until he heard her snore before quietly going to his straw bed to rest. In summer, he'd hang a straw mat as a curtain at the front door, letting his mother sleep on a bamboo bed while he slept shirtless at the door, preferring to be bitten by mosquitoes himself rather than let them bother his mother. Their home was near a wild field, typically attracting many mosquitoes in summer. However, strangely, no mosquitoes would come near Ngo's house. The villagers believed that the divine were moved by his filial piety, causing this miracle. They all respected him greatly, dubbing him filial son Ngo. Despite his poverty, nobody wanted to marry their daughters to him, and he never considered marriage himself. One day, while delivering water, Ngo happened to splash water on the clothes of a nobleman, Mai, from his district. Mai yelled and insulted him, but Ngo stood firm, unafraid. The shop manager quickly apologized to Mai, explaining Ngo's reputation. Mai's attitude changed to cheerfulness, and he offered Ngo 5 strings of coins as a gift, which Ngo refused to accept. The manager then showed Ngo his ring finger, which, in the language of the mute, represented the mother. Ngo understood that Mai was sympathetic towards him for having an elderly mother, so he knelt down to express his gratitude, gesturing towards heaven and earth, showing immense gratitude to Mai. Upon returning home, Ngo's mother was surprised by the money and worried he had stolen it. After much inquiry, she learned the truth from the shop and returned home chanting prayers. Despite the journey being over 5 miles, her age and illness made it difficult, taking her a long time to return. Ngo remained kneeling on the ground until her return. She smiled and comforted him, and only then did Ngo dry his tears, laughing and dancing, pulling at her clothes, indicating he wanted to buy her a new blanket. This deeply moved everyone around. The local magistrate, upon hearing Ngo's story, awarded him a plaque praising his filial piety. Ngo, feeling unworthy, wept and refused to accept it. The villagers, respecting him, hung the plaque on the village gate as a symbol of honor. Later, when rebels approached the area, they spared the village upon seeing the plaque, recognizing it as the home of the filial son. They even expressed a wish to meet Ngo, promising to withdraw their forces if he appeared. Unaware of the situation and unwilling to leave his mother, Ngo stayed by her side. Learning of his refusal, the rebels soon departed, sparing the city from destruction thanks to Ngo's virtue. 50. Building up good karma even ghosts dare not harm. In the Ming dynasty in Zhejiang, there was a scholar named Ying Daidu. He was an upright and honest man, polite and eager to learn. Daidu wanted to leave the noisy city and find a quiet place in the mountains to focus on his studies. He heard about a house at the foot of a mountain outside the city, perfect for him but haunted, so the owner was afraid to live there. Previous tenants had left because of strange, scary incidents. Daidu believed in ghosts, but thought differently. He believed that a clear conscience meant no fear of ghosts at night and that righteousness could dispel evil. The quiet location was ideal for studying, so he couldn't pass up the chance. He met with the landlord and moved into the house, feeling very content in the peaceful setting, which allowed him to study diligently. One night, while reading, he heard strange sounds outside his room but remained calm and focused on his book. Over time, Daidu not only heard these sounds but also overheard ghosts talking. One day, he heard 2 ghosts discussing a lady in the village whose husband had been away for years. Her in-laws were pressuring her to remarry, but she was determined to remain faithful and considered suicide. Daidu felt sympathy for her and decided to help. He sold some land, got some silver, and forged a letter from her husband. The family was overjoyed with the letter and the silver, though they were initially skeptical since the handwriting didn't match. Eventually, the in-laws stopped pressuring the lady to remarry, believing her husband was safe. A few days later, her husband actually returned, and the family was reunited and very grateful to the unknown helper. Later, Daidu heard the ghost talking again. The ghost planning to claim the lady as a substitute was regretful because Daidu had thwarted his plan. When asked why he didn't seek revenge, the ghost said Daidu was a kind-hearted scholar who had accumulated a lot of good karma, which would lead to great blessings in the future, including a high government position, so he dared not harm him. Daidu indeed passed the imperial examination and became a high-ranking official. He remembered his encounters with the ghost and believed in karma, so he did more good deeds, helped during famine, and assisted friends in need. As an official, He was just and corrected wrong judgments. Daidu's life was smooth and joyful, and his descendants also achieved great success. 51. People who lack integrity will inevitably face constant misfortune. Traditional Chinese culture places a high value on a person's virtues. Many ancient texts teach that one must strive to improve oneself and become a good person in order to receive blessings and avoid unhappiness. In his book, Zhu Yingxuan, a scholar from the Ming Dynasty, stated, "Those who do not maintain their integrity are bound to experience ongoing misery." He believed that only those with moral virtues are likely to encounter good fortune. He likened life to a building, arguing that only when integrity forms the foundation can fame, power, or wealth be built upon it. Just like constructing a building, if one focuses only on gaining wealth and status but lacks a solid foundation of virtue, then misfortune will surely follow, and they will lose everything. Have you ever wondered why some celebrities disappear after a short period of fame? Why some people quickly lose all their money after winning the lottery? Or why some high-ranking officials fall from grace even faster than they rose to power? These are examples of individuals whose lack of a virtuous foundation could not sustain their status. There are many examples of downfall due to a lack of virtue. However, today people often talk more about the ups and downs of life rather than virtue. They believe that luck and fame are natural occurrences. Yet, in reality, virtue governs everything. Those without virtue are like walking on stilts on the edge of a cliff, bound to slip sooner or later. Officials who lack virtue and harm the public will ultimately face ruin and disgrace. Chinese history is filled with examples of high-ranking officials who abused their power and lived without virtue, only to meet tragic ends. During the Tang dynasty, the imperial historian Lai Junchen was highly valued by the emperor and was tasked with investigating other officials in the court. With power in his hands, Lai conspired with Wu Shuda to fabricate evidence and falsely accuse many loyal officials. He was also known for inventing various cruel torture devices and methods to force others to confess to crimes. Lai's power and cruelty made him feared and hated. However, he was eventually punished after a failed plot to harm a princess. Lai Junchen was executed for his deceit and betrayal, his body flayed and his organs removed. 52. Embezzlement of relief funds. During the Qing dynasty, there was a man named Chubash Lu who was known for his kindness and integrity. He lived a life of virtue and honesty, never deceiving anyone. People greatly admired his moral character. Because of his upright nature, the gods saw him as a just individual, and he was often summoned to the underworld to help judge and resolve cases. Whenever Chubash Lu was called upon to judge, he would find himself in a daze, then transported to a grand hall, wearing official robes with attendants by his side. A high-ranking official would present cases for him to review. After waking from these experiences, he rarely shared them with others. One morning, Chubash Lu woke up mentioning a pitiful acquaintance who was a government official in a region suffering from famine. This official had made a fortune from the funds allocated for famine relief and was quite pleased with himself. Chubash Lu, however, said this man would soon face a severe misfortune that could lead to the downfall of his family. His students were puzzled and asked why. Chubash Lu explained that while the common people were struggling, the government was distributing rice to help them survive a few more days. However, this official was heartlessly skimming off the top, reducing the amount of rice given to the needy, and even resorting to making gruel with cold water and lime, limiting it to 1 bowl per person. Many who came late got nothing, leading to countless unnecessary deaths. The official didn't care, hoping for more deaths to increase his profits from the relief funds. Chubach Lu said such a crime was grave. In a dream, he had seen this man's case file in the underworld, with the sins weighed based on the amount embezzled. The punishment could range from a violent death to the obliteration of one's family and even damnation in hell, reborn as lowly animals. He lamented that retribution was inevitable, hence his sorrow. There's a saying in the underworld that implies the misdeeds one commits against heaven and morality cannot be escaped, and "you've arrived" is a warning of the inescapable consequences. Indeed, a month later, a letter confirmed that the official's family had been struck by a plague, with members dying one after the other, proving Chubach Lu's words true. The moral is that in this world, what goes around comes around. People often do wrong because they don't see the truth, thinking their actions are without consequence. Human laws might fail to catch the wicked, but divine justice is inescapable, like a vast but fine net that lets nothing through. 53. A marriage sparked by a smile. Havai, a writer from Fujian during the Song dynasty, mentioned in his work Spring Chronicles a story about the connection between a husband and wife. He recounted how his cousin had a son-in-law named Shen Shun Liang, also known as Zhong Lao, who was a local official in Wu Tiem Town, Zhejiang Province. Initially, his cousin's daughter was betrothed to Huang Bi. Furthermore, Huang Bei was the older brother of the girl promised to Hua Kuoi, his cousin's son. This made the marriage even more closely knit. Later on, Huang Bei was nominated by the local community to take the imperial examination, and he passed. Normally, after passing the examination, organizers would rank the candidates based on their performance. Once approved by higher authorities, the list would be officially announced at the Ministry of Rights. Those on the list could be called scholars. The Huang family then wrote a letter to the Ha family, agreeing to marry their children immediately after the list was announced. However, before the wedding could take place, the daughter of the Ha family suddenly lost her sight due to an eye illness. A doctor told them that her pupils were damaged and her sight was beyond recovery. The Ha family, seeing no other option, informed the Huang family of the situation and suggested calling off the marriage. Huang Bei said, "When we got engaged, her eyes were fine. How could I abandon my blind fiancée just because I became a scholar?" However, under strong pressure from his mother and brother, Huang Bei eventually agreed to withdraw from the marriage. As the blind daughter of the Ha family grew older, her family intended for her to become a nun, not seeking another marriage for her. Yet, this intelligent and beautiful blind woman was still thought of as normal by those unaware of her condition. While living in Odon, Zhejiang Havi and his brothers often traveled with Shen Shun Liang, admiring him for his approachability and wisdom. Shen, being single and all his brothers being officials elsewhere, wanted companionship and eventually married the blind woman from the Ha family. A few days after their marriage, Shen dreamed of a place resembling a government office, with hallways crowded with prisoners. Suddenly, a man in red robes appeared, sat behind a desk, and then many officials gathered, showing respect before dispersing. The man in red must have been an official. After the session, the official in red called a vendor, angry because an order hadn't been fulfilled, and ordered him to be beaten. The vendor protested, angering the official further, who then ordered smoke to be blown into the vendor's eyes. Shen, watching this, laughed, finding it slightly amusing. Someone next to him said, "You find no compassion in this scene. Instead, your laughter aligns with that anger. This man in red is your wife in this life." Awakening, Shen told his blind wife about the dream, saying, "It's miraculous truly. What goes around comes around. Your anger caused someone to be blinded by smoke, and now you suffer blindness for the rest of your life. My laughter too has its consequences, leading me to have a blind wife in this life. Anger and misguided laughter have their karma. Those who laugh at others' pain, accumulating bad deeds, must face their consequences. We all should be wary of the next life. 54. Couples should respect and be patient with each other. KHANH, a famous scholar and official from the Qing dynasty, wrote in his book about a young married couple in Shangzhou. This couple wasn't getting along and happy like others. The wife felt unhappy and developed a heartache. Moreover, her stubborn and odd behavior made their relationship worse. One day, a virtuous nun passed through Shangzhou. The wife went to meet her and asked, "Dear nun, do husbands and wives have a karmic relationship? Why isn't my marriage peaceful and harmonious?" The nun explained gently that no marriage happens by chance. Some couples come together because of past life bonds leading to a joyful life. Others might meet again due to past grievances, resulting in a life filled with distress and resentment. Some marriages are a mix of both good and bad karma, offering a chance to resolve these issues. This is generally how marital relationships work. According to your story, your marriage might be due to past resentments. This is fate, not human will. In Buddhism, people are advised to repent, admit their mistakes, and improve themselves. As a wife, if you let go of your need to win and control your pride and prioritize patience over arguing with your husband, conflicts will naturally decrease. In the family, do your part well, be kind to both parents, get along with siblings, and be generous to everyone. Focus on being a good person without comparing how others treat you. If you can do this, your marriage will surely improve. After hearing the nun's advice, the wife stopped blaming and finding faults in others and started following the nun's suggestions. Indeed, after some time, the relationship between the husband and wife improved. 55. 3 things not to talk about. There's a saying, illness enters through the mouth, disaster comes out of it, stemming from the Tai Ping Yu Lan compiled during the Song dynasty. Its core message is that illness is caused by careless eating, while calamity is brought forth by careless speech. This wisdom has since become a guiding principle for life. Hence, it's said, good fortune comes with signs and misfortune has its reasons. Don't let your emotions control your actions into doing what's wrong, and don't speak carelessly, as even the smallest anthole can cause a riverbank to collapse, and a tiny stream can bring down a great mountain. Therefore, illness comes from careless eating, and calamity from careless speech. In life, we see countless examples of trouble stemming from careless talk. If everyone were careful with their words, there would likely be far less trouble in the world. Thus, a person's speech reflects their level of self-cultivation and emotional intelligence. Those who know how to speak to others wisely avoid mentioning 3 things related to themselves. 1. Keep your secrets. Many people have secrets, and sometimes they share them with others. Sharing secrets can be a way to release negative emotions. It's hard to avoid negative emotions, and when people feel down, they tend to share their personal issues with friends or loved ones, often revealing their own secrets. Secrets are intriguing and surprising because they represent what you've done that nobody else knows. But sharing them is not the issue. The problem is if you share them with the wrong people who might use these secrets against you. Secrets are deeply held in one's heart and are shared under pressure for relief. So it's best to keep your secrets to yourself unless sharing benefits the other person. 2. Talk less of your past. Everyone has a past, possibly marked by tragedy or success. We can't erase our pasts, nor should we need to. Instead, we should see our past as lessons for the future or motivation to push ourselves forward. Some people love to talk about their past, adding, "If I hadn't done that, things would be different now." Such talk may not bother the speaker but holds little value for the listener. People prefer hearing useful things, not past tales. Moreover, the past is over, and there's no need to retell it. Your life is represented by the present and the future. Discussing your past with others may only earn their sympathy, but can cost you respect and friendships. Our pasts are ours alone and irrelevant to others' stories. 3. Don't boast about your successes. Observation shows that truly successful people seldom broadcast their achievements. They mention them briefly, while those less successful often boast about past successes. Everyone experiences success at some point, but it's not always worth mentioning. What you discuss and the examples you set clearly reveal your character. Boasting about your success is just that, boasting. It implies you're not used to success and overly proud of your achievements. True success isn't easy, but it shouldn't become a mundane topic. People are busy and likely uninterested in hearing about your past victories. Effective communication requires skill. Those who speak well are listened to. If you talk without consideration, you might find no one willing to listen. So avoid casually discussing your secrets, past, or bragging about your achievements. Focus on sharing your happiness and remember that we live in the present. 56. Who creates their own fate? In this temporary world, we're all just guests for a few decades. Whether we intend to or not, we end up creating a lot of connections and consequences, good or bad. It's known that taking a life directly creates karma, but sometimes even those who haven't done anything can be seen as creating karma. One day, a large group of people was waiting to cross a river. Seeing this, the boatman hurriedly pushed his boat into the water. Because he was so quick, many small fish, shrimp, and crabs near the shore couldn't escape and were crushed by the boat. Among the waiting passengers were a monk and a young scholar. The young man, seeing the dead sea creatures, asked the monk, "Reverend, look, the boatman, by launching his boat, has killed so many creatures. Who's to blame for this? Will the sin of killing these beings fall on the boatman or the passengers?" The monk looked at him and calmly said, "It's your fault." The young man, surprised, asked, "How could it be my fault? I'm not the one rowing the boat and I haven't even boarded it yet. Why would you say it's my fault?" The monk replied, "Because you are meddling in others' affairs. The boatman was just trying to ferry people across. He had no intention of killing. And the passengers, they just wanted to get across for their own reasons, without any ill will. Their hearts, not intending harm, are like a clear blue sky. Even if clouds pass by, they can't tarnish the inherent purity of the sky." Hearing this, the young scholar fell silent, pondering the monk's words. The monk continued, "Human sins are created by the heart, so judging right and wrong superficially and arrogantly only adds to one's own troubles. Nowadays, many people, like the young scholar, love to comment on others' right and wrong without truly understanding the situation. They don't realize they're stirring up disputes and storms, eventually tiring both their minds and bodies and losing their inherent peace and freedom. Life has its share of pain, and the journey is tough for everyone. Suffering is never easy to endure. Moreover, human life is like a dream. Everything passes quickly. We come into this world with nothing, and we leave with nothing. We can do what we like within limits, but we should never hurt others. The principle of karma and consequences teaches us that we are responsible for our words and actions. 57. Being poor is temporary, but having a poor spirit lasts a lifetime. No one likes being poor because it often means losing freedom. However, more dangerous than material poverty is poverty of the soul. After all, while material wealth can improve through effort, Enriching one's soul takes much more work. People with a poor spirit don't necessarily lack material things but fall short in vision and habits. Such individuals often look down on others, especially when things don't go their way, resorting to bitterness and criticism. This attitude can drag them down further and hurt those around them. Instead of imposing their will on others or shouting, focusing on personal goals and striving for improvement can make life better. Engage in deceit and manipulation. While we should support those struggling materially, those poor in spirit often rely on deceit due to a lack of ambition and resilience. Be pessimistic, frequently complaining, and giving up easily. They blame their failures on others or their circumstances without realizing that their attitude is the main cause of their problems. This anchor effect in psychology suggests that our beliefs deeply influence our future. People with a poor spirit have a pessimistic outlook, always lamenting their fate. But what we think and say shapes our world. Pessimism and complaints only bring more misfortune, trapping us in a negative cycle. The saying, being poor is temporary, but a poor spirit lasts a lifetime, reminds us that to live a rich life, we must first cultivate a rich spirit. 58. Treating diseases before they arise. There's a saying that goes, the highest form of medicine is treating the disease before it appears, and the middle form is treating the disease that is already present. This means that highly skilled doctors can prevent diseases before they start, while average doctors treat patients who are already sick. The concept of treating diseases before they arise has multiple layers of meaning. It first involves understanding the potential development of a disease, then preventing it from occurring, and finally stopping it from developing further. In traditional Eastern medicine, there's a discussion on diagnosing liver diseases. It suggests that when treating the liver, one must also support the spleen to prevent the negative energy from the liver from affecting it. This is an example of treating the disease before it arises. An average doctor might identify a liver disease, but without understanding this principle and only focusing on the liver without supporting the spleen, the disease may spread, requiring further treatment. This is referred to as treating the disease that has already occurred. An historical record from Historical Records, the biography of Bian Kuei, illustrates this concept. When Bian Kuei visited the state of Qi, Duke Huan treated him as a guest. Bian Kuei, upon seeing the Duke, said, "You have a skin disease which, if not treated, will worsen." Duke Huan replied, "I am not ill." After Bian Kuei left, the Duke remarked to his courtiers, "That doctor is just looking for profit by offering to treat a non-existent illness." 5 days later, Bian Kuei again visited and said, "Your illness has reached the blood vessels and will become more severe if not treated." Again, Duke Huan denied being ill. After another 5 days, Bian Kuei visited, but upon seeing the Duke, he immediately left. When asked why, Bian Kuei explained, the skin disease could have been treated with topical medicines, and the blood vessel issue with acupuncture. Now the disease has reached the bone marrow, and it's too late for any treatment. 5 days later, Duke Huan became seriously ill and soon passed away. This story vividly illustrates the concept of treating the disease before it arises. Treating diseases before they arise also serves as a reminder for people to take care of their bodies and not to neglect themselves. This is particularly important in modern life. When in good health, modern individuals often indulge in their desires without restraint. They might avoid exercise, overeat, stay up late, drink excessively, work too hard, become easily angered, and lead irregular lives. When advised to take good care of their bodies, they might think, "Why bother with health maintenance if I'm not sick?" 59. A circle of kindness, The remarkable story of karma between a prime minister and a humble student. In the late 19th century in the United States, two young men, despite coming from challenging family backgrounds, were admitted to a prestigious university. To cover their tuition and living expenses, they had to work while studying. One day, they came up with a creative way to make money by deciding to organize a concert for a famous pianist, hoping to earn a small commission. They approached Ignacy Paderewski, a renowned pianist at the time. After discussions, Paderewski's manager and the two young men agreed that the artist would receive $2,000 as a fee for his performance. For Paderewski, this fee was reasonable given his reputation at the time. However, for the two young men, $2,000 was a significant amount. If their concert did not bring in $2,000, they would face a major loss and end up in a worse situation than before. Eventually, they decided to sign the contract and devoted themselves fully to the concert. After the performance, they counted the money and found they had only made $1,600. They handed all the money to Paderewski and also gave him an IOU for the remaining $400, promising to repay him as soon as possible. Paderewski was moved by the young men's plight and immediately tore up the IOU. He then returned the $1,600 to them, saying, "Use this money to pay for your tuition and living expenses. Keep 10% of what's left over as your fee. I'll take the remainder." The young men were overwhelmed and broke down in tears, speechless. Years later, after World War I ended, Paderewski returned to his homeland, Poland, and became the prime minister. Poland was in dire financial straits due to the war, with its people suffering from hunger and looking to him for help. Despite his efforts, he could not find a way to resolve the severe crisis. Left with no other choice, he sought assistance from Herbert Hoover, then the head of the American Relief Administration. Hoover immediately agreed to send a substantial amount of food aid to Poland, saving millions of lives. To express his gratitude, Prime Minister Paderewski arranged to meet Hoover in Paris. Upon meeting, Hoover said, "You don't need to thank me. I am the one who should be thanking you. Prime Minister Paderewski, there's something you may have forgotten long ago, but I will never forget. When you were in the U.S., you helped two poor students. I was one of those boys." This story is a beautiful conclusion to an act of kindness, showing that Paderewski's help to Hoover, motivated purely by compassion, would eventually save his own people in a time of need. Therefore, it's evident that doing good without expecting anything in return is a noble human virtue. In life, every act of kindness and sincerity can have a reciprocal impact among people. It will always shine bright, never to be dimmed or forgotten by time. Those who receive help and kindness often start treating others the same way. Due to this cycle of positive influence, people who do good deeds without expecting rewards often receive unexpected blessings. This is the natural law of the cycle of karma. 60. The goats drinking wolf's milk. While the entire animal kingdom was fighting to protect their land, there was this one wolf who not only refused to join the battle but also seized the chance to strengthen its power from the shadows. It conspired with various ferocious animals, boasting about its talent in ruling and promising to bring everlasting peace and happiness to all animals. One day, after meeting with the fox, the crocodile, and the snake to spread false rumors about the tiger, the wolf was smug, thinking its plan was about to succeed. On its way home, it saw a goat lying by the roadside. Rushing over, the wolf asked with feigned concern, "Hey buddy, what's wrong with you?" The goat, barely lifting its head, replied weakly, "I haven't eaten in 2 days, and after running a long distance, I'm both hungry and tired, unable to walk." The wolf quickly responded, "Hang on, brother. Wait for me. I'll be right back." and ran off. It snuck into a human's livestock field, stole some fresh grass, and hurried back to the goat. Placing the grass near the goat, the wolf said warmly, "You must be starving. Eat up." Touched, the goat ate while listening to the wolf's tales of patriotism and its desire to save the animal kingdom from hunger, disease, war, and disasters. The goat grew to admire and trust the wolf immensely. From then on, the goat shared this story with other animals, spreading the wolf's fame far and wide. When the tiger was about to win the war, the wolf quickly joined the front lines, pretending to share the same enemy and hardships as the tiger, boosting its image by claiming to have driven the enemy away with cleverness and bravery. After the war, with the tiger greatly weakened, the wolf led a fierce pack to attack, forcing the tiger to flee to a small island for safety, thus becoming the animal kingdom's ruler. It then mixed goat and cow's milk with its sweat, packaged it as wolf's milk, and distributed it as a gift in exchange for luxury goods for its personal use. The wolf claimed it would bring true happiness to all animals, offering more gifts to those who followed its lead. It even designed wolf army uniforms, making the goats proud to wear them and teaching their kids that they owed their growth to wolf's milk, claiming it was better than their mother's. However, the wolf's ruthless and selfish nature never changed. When animals pointed out its faults, it tried to cover them up with lies and deception, eliminating any opposition. The most common tactic was to frame and eliminate its opponents. This caused widespread dissatisfaction among the animals, but fear of the wolf's cruelty kept them silent. Yet, a hunter recorded the wolf's heinous acts and spread the word among the animals, urging those in the wolf army to abandon their allegiance and the goats to stop their blind devotion. Notices were hung on olive trees, and the doves spread the word, encouraging animals to discard their wolf skins and symbols. While some goats refused, believing the wolf had fed them, the doves tirelessly spread the hunter's warnings. Even when the wolf tried to discredit the doves and brutally attack them, their sincerity, kindness, and perseverance awakened many animals' consciences, gradually freeing them from the wolf's influence. Despite being surrounded by wolves, the doves kept spreading the hunter's warnings, hoping to awaken more animals to the wolf's lies. Eventually, when the hunter's promise was fulfilled and the wolves were surrounded, the animal kingdom returned to peace. 61. Why is it said that being prideful is not as good as being strong-willed? There's an old joke. There was a poor student who was very prideful. He was always afraid of losing face and pretended to be generous, never admitting his family lacked money. A thief, thinking he was actually rich, broke into his house one night only to find nothing valuable besides 4 walls, and cursed, "Damn, so you're actually broke!" Hearing this, the student quickly took out some money from under his pillow, chased after the thief, and said, "You came at the wrong time. Take this money. But please, when you leave, let me keep some dignity and don't tell anyone how poor my family is." Pride is a characteristic of the Chinese people. The British philosopher Russell said, "The pride of the Chinese often seems ridiculous to foreigners. Everyone wants to save face. Even the humblest beggar does. If you don't want to seriously offend Chinese moral principles, then don't make them lose face. Otherwise, you're humiliating them." In fact, pride to a certain extent, if it stems from one's honor, isn't necessarily bad. The saying, "Everyone needs dignity like a tree needs bark," reflects that everyone wants to be respected, even admired. However, when one goes too far in maintaining appearances, pride becomes a burden, leading to a life of dying of pride but living in misery. Those of higher wisdom care less about pride. Extremely prideful people are often insecure and lack confidence, needing pride to prove themselves, whereas strong-minded individuals care less about losing face. Another ancient story tells of two men walking together. Seeing a luxurious palanquin approaching, one said to the other, "The owner of that palanquin is a close friend of mine. If he sees me, he will surely stop and pay respects, but I don't want to deal with such formalities, so let's hide." He hid near a mansion's gate, which, coincidentally, belonged to the palanquin's owner. The owner stopped, saw the man hiding, and angrily asked, "What are you sneaking around my gate for?" He then ordered his servants to chase the man away. When the man's companion saw his bruised face, he asked, "If you're close friends with him, why did he have you chased away?" The man replied, "That's just how he is, always teasing me." Trying too hard to maintain dignity often ends up causing more embarrassment. In life, wise people value inner strength and cultivate a strong heart, while foolish people focus on appearances, often leading to misery. Dignity can become a heavy burden. The more you care about it, the heavier it becomes, controlling you. Dignity isn't really that important. Don't overly concern yourself with it. It's said that the more useless a person is, the more obsessed they become with trivial matters, always wanting to show off their pride. Because apart from their pride, they have nothing else. What we call dignity, especially for ambitious young people starting from scratch, excessive pride can actually be a hindrance. For some sensitive and weak individuals, pride becomes a weapon. Pride bigger than love, even bigger than the sky, is often rooted in insecurity. The French author Yourcenar once said, "The filthiest thing in the world is pride, because with pride, a weak, insecure, sensitive, and useless person has the best excuse and cover." Excessive pride and dignity show a lack of life experience, because the higher one's wisdom, the less they care about appearances. People respect someone based on their real strength because the stronger one is, the higher their status, and their perspective differs. Liking dignity and being dignified are two different things. Some people are meticulous and dignified in their dealings and lifestyle, firstly, to match their identity and value, and secondly, to seek a finer, quality life. But being overly prideful and pretentious is just seeking vain glory, exaggerating about oneself, seeking attention, exhausting oneself, and even affecting others negatively. This kind of pride is harmful and can lead people astray. Truly capable people don't seek fame and glory. They don't need to boast because their inner strength doesn't require showing off to gain respect. And if you haven't reached a certain level or condition, don't pretend to be a hero. It's exhausting and prevents self-improvement, wasting all time and effort on so-called dignity. Without real strength, not only will you lose face when asking for help, but you might also miss out on people who touch your heart and even miss the beauty of life. 62. Embracing simplicity, the art of letting go for a peaceful life. Being content is itself a gift to others, and stopping harmful deeds is doing good. Life is often filled with anxiety and trouble because of our desires and attachments. In life, being able to let go is the key to finding happiness, and embracing things as they come allows us to be at ease. Whether we experience pain or joy depends on our mindset. 1. Not being greedy is like giving to others, stopping evil is doing good, making amends is repentance, being humble is showing respect, maintaining discipline is keeping one's word, forgiving is liberation, being content is letting go, and benefiting others benefits oneself. Life's luxuries are fleeting, like a momentary flash. 100 years is at most a strip of golden sand. Not competing is kindness, not justifying oneself is wisdom, not dwelling on right or wrong is freedom, and not focusing on troubles is peace. 2. Life is inherently imperfect. Recognizing what we have and finding joy in it allows us to live freely. We shouldn't compare our happiness with others and feel inadequate. A calm mindset is essential. Everyone is unique, so we shouldn't belittle ourselves or lose our way out of envy or admiration for others. 3. Lifting feels like 1,000 pounds, letting go as light as a feather. Letting go makes everything easier and more peaceful. Letting go means releasing selfish desires, pointless fixations, and stubbornness. Enjoy the falling flowers in the wind. In calm, appreciate the sky and earth. Understanding the art of letting go enriches life. Don't get too excited over gains or too sad over losses. Go with the flow and adapt to all situations. 4. Be kind to the environment as it sustains life, to parents as they gave us life, to family as they are our closest kin, to colleagues as they are our companions in work, and to benefactors as they are our saviors in tough times. Be kind to adversaries as they may be settling past debts, to strangers as they could be future connections, to animals as they are our companions, to plants as they beautify life, and to all as everything exists for the beauty of this world. 5. People often feel stressed due to excessive desires. Even if you can't completely let go, understand that fewer desires mean more joy and ease. Life flows naturally. Don't let greed overtake your heart. Buddha taught us to reduce greed and desires and to be empathetic towards others, not to quickly blame the world for our discontent. Facing life with letting things be allows for a serene existence. 6. Letting things be is often misunderstood as laziness or fate acceptance, making it an excuse for some to avoid issues. In reality, it's about facing life with an open heart, dealing with problems generously, resolving conflicts with kindness, forgiving others, and broadening one's mind. It's a form of wisdom that allows one to remain calm and clear-headed in tough situations. 7. There's a joy in letting go of past attachments as the past is gone, future worries as the future is yet to come, and unrealistic desires to avoid unnecessary suffering. Give your soul a peaceful space, treating others with tolerance and friendliness. Remember what to persist in, what to complete, and what to let go of. 8. Our needs in life are actually not many, but inner peace is essential. A calm mind leads to a focused spirit, which brings wisdom and enlightenment. Happiness is just a perspective, joy just a state of mind. Understanding this, the insights gained are life's true rewards. 9. Suffer in silence, smile without joy. This phrase encompasses the ultimate state of being. Life's injuries often cause endless pain, but in reality, these scars are the best gifts nature has given to our lives. Instead of arguing with someone angry, it's better to reflect quietly. Too many excuses can make one seem untrustworthy. Some issues, once clarified, become history. Some people, after a few days of anger, become part of the past. Some pains, once laughed at, dissolve. Some experiences, through a little hurt, strengthen us.
Hey everyone, your comments truly matter, offering insights and motivation to others and uplifting our creative team at Lighthouse of Wisdom channel. Sharing your thoughts and experiences enriches our community. So, let's get the conversation started below and help illuminate our path with your wisdom.